All right, what is up, everyone? Welcome to another edition of Racing Dudes Live. We've got the team members kind of going to join us hit and miss throughout the day with everything going on. Magic will be here shortly. We'll see if we hear from Halterman. He's moving today, but we do have our boy Ricky. Ricky's Rockets joining us, and of course, Sean. Welcome to the show here, guys. And I wanted to hop on here real quickly before we run this race 8. Obviously, we got the late pick 4 at Saratoga. We'll talk a little bit about Maximum Security running later on the card at Del Mar. But race 8, get ready to go. Kick off this late pick 4. Those you said you're alive, Sean, before we hopped on here in the pick 5. Of course, the Vanderbilt is the headliner of this late pick 4, late pick 5 sequence. We'll talk about that race later. But real quickly, they're getting ready to get into the gate here in race 8. How did you guys see this race? What do you think?
Yeah, I thought this was one of the more difficult ones. If we're going to talk about the sequence, I know a lot of people are going to. We'll get into the Vanderbilt. I like the 3. I know Doug O'Neill doesn't ship often to Saratoga, and that's one of the angles that I looked at. And Parsimony's just been running against much tougher. And I thought 9-2 as they're about to load into the gate, or not about to. They're walking around a little, but I thought 9-2 was a solid price. And I also thought the 1A Money Moves, obviously coupled with You're to Blame. This is the preferred 3-year-old by Candy Rye for Luis Saez and Pletcher. So those are the 2 that I put on top. Sean, what do you think? I thought this was pretty difficult, honestly.
Yeah, I thought it was a difficult race as well. I mean, this is one of the races where I'm more spread, which I'm a little bit more nervous about because I actually thought the 6 was going to float up in price, and I do not have the 3 as well. My top 2 picks were the 2 and the 7, and I'm 1, 2, 4, 7, 8. So I would obviously prefer a little bit more of a price here, especially considering I don't have one of the co-favorites and the third choice right now. So I agree with you, though. I thought this was definitely one of the more tougher races in the sequence.
Yeah, we actually have on the website, we have the 7 as our best value on the card at Saratoga. So that's a very interesting horse. And, you guys both mentioned Money Moves, or at least using the one horse. Definitely an interesting one for Todd Pletcher. It's a very lightly raced 3-year-old. Lots of expectations of this horse with a big time purchase price, but obviously stepping up big time in competition and going against olders. So a lot to kind of to take on a 2-to-1 horse with a lot, make a lot of improvements. Obviously, could very well do that. Did you guys like the 6? I know you didn't mention the 6 much, but the 6 kind of scared me as a horse that ran a big time number last time out that feels like could, if the pace is lightning fast, might be coming running late.
Yeah, I did. I just don't. There weren't many reasons to lose 2 seconds in a row and I just think at a short price, that's one I could pass on. I definitely think he's got a shot, though. If we're going to be realistic and we're not looking at the horse, I'm going to take Todd Pletcher and Saez at 2-to-1 over Jimmy Bond and Concel at 2-to-1. And that's one of the things, we've talked about, and it's kind of like, multi-race wagers. We don't know all the time what we're going to get, but just on the face of it at 2-to-1 win wagers, I'll go to the inside as they just got out of the gate here.
Yep, they're off. Yeah, and I agree. When I was, earlier on the betting, the 6 was not taking much money. It was about 5-to-1. I thought that was a little bit better value. 2-to-1, obviously going off as a co-favorite is rough. All right, they are in the first turn here. The 3 Parsimony. You guys both like that horse in the lead with the 8 horse locally owned, just tracking behind.
Yeah, one of the things that we talked about too. You talked about the 7 Layton the Chilean horse. That's one of the service horses that actually looked decent when they came back. So I'm not surprised that Layton took some money, and I thought 6-to-1 was a nice price too. This was wide open, as Sean said. I think you can get some value across the board here.
Sean, who do you need here? What horses?
1, 2, 4, 7, 8. So I don't love my position here. I thought the 2 is a little bit further back. The 6 looks like he's making a middle move, but in between horses. So yeah. I think I'm gonna need some luck because the 3 looks like he's running pretty well right now.
Cruising. The half was in 48.5. I mean, nothing. They're not going fast at all necessarily, and looks like this 3 is gonna be tough.
And the 8's got a shot if he's good enough.
Yeah, and then I think Layton got pulled up all the way in the back there, so. Because he's out of the picture.
How good is Money Moves here, fellas? Because it looks like Money Moves is making a nice little run.
I mean, let's keep this 8 out here.
The 8's drawn away.
Yeah, the 8 looks. Oh, hang on. Hang on.
Six,
8, hold on. Look at this.
Wow.
6. Sorry, Sean.
It's all right.
Sorry.
I mean,
that was my top horse there, and boy, that horse looked like I thought the 8 was drawing off, and then the 6 made a last-second run. But yeah, that was nice there. 2-1, so I get not playing that horse. But boy, that's a tough beat. Sorry.
Yeah, I mean, when you kind of look back at that, it's like Ricky said, that was a horse that I was going to try and beat just from the start. And then, making that middle move in between horses and then finishing in between horses. I mean, it was easily the best horse in the race today. So, when you lose like that, you had all the chances in the world to get it home, and it just didn't happen. You just got to chalk it up and move on. I mean, no sense in dwelling on that.
Aaron Halterman, the other racing dude, finding some time. I mentioned earlier, I said you might join in, we may not, so we'll see. But welcome. What's up, buddy?
Yeah, I'm here until I'm not, I guess. It's been a crazy day here for sure. But yeah, I'm going to be honest, I haven't really watched anything. I've been moving all day. I'm in an empty house for the second straight week, but at a different empty house. So so who won? Who won that race, guys?
Prioritize a 6 horse. You did not have just barely came up. The 8 looked like was going to kind of pull away, and the 1 Money Moves and the 6 came up to his outside, and really was neck and neck the whole way. And the 6 kind of split horses there and held on, and really was kind of moving really well late. Money Moves, horse that we mentioned, obviously the most lightly raced horse in the field. A horse that obviously Pletcher had bigger plans in this race. Definitely did not run terrible in defeat. To expect him to see him more in the 3-year-old picture, maybe. I guess it'd have to be Travers if he's going to run one in there. But I don't know how good that horse really is. But yeah, number 6 Prioritize won the race.
Wow, that's really surprising to me. I mean, that's a horse I think you should have played against, even though that the horse just won. I don't know. Obviously, I haven't heard what you guys said about the race, but that was kind of a shorter price that I thought could get beat there. I really thought Money Moves would be tough, and I liked the 8 a little bit. I liked the 7 a little bit. So, listen, that's Saratoga right now in a nutshell for me. I'm either all over it and can't miss, or I completely whiff on races there right now. So, where are we? We got the Vanderbilt next, or we got another one before that?
We have
another one.
One more, and then we'll have the race 9, and then we have race 10 is the Vanderbilt. So
okay, all right.
You mentioned it. You asked, anyways. It's funny. Both Ricky and Sean were against the 6, and then I chimed in and said, "Well, I liked it. That's 6, my top choice." So I felt like something was wrong with my picks, and so I think it's one of those though. I mentioned though when they left the gate that at the time, the 6 was there like 5-1 early in the betting. And I thought, well, my gosh, you got to take that value. Then he goes off co-favorite. So again, I can understand why you'd want to, if you're playing wins, especially why you'd want to say, okay, I'm going to take a shot against that horse now that he's the favorite and seems like he can't win a race. But boy, you got it done today. And so do you guys have anything alive anymore?
No, I had the 6. I had the 6 in the 50 cent, but not in the $3. So okay. Money Moves would have been the bigger in the $3 pick 4. I mean, and I, like Sean kind of said, and I said, I think that was for me just a defensive use, and as Samich would say, just to have on the ticket, just to keep me alive. But I if I had to pick, that would have been the 5th out of 5 choices, and I had 5 in that pick 4 just to get me started. But that was the lowest ranked one. I didn't have the 6 anywhere after the pick 4, so not in the pick 5. But Jared, that was a good call. I think I might have downplayed that angle that I was talking about prior in terms of just the smaller barn. Jimmy Bond, he has looked decent. It's just a small barn, and I didn't trust Consell, and I talked about Saez and Pletcher 2-1 or Jimmy Bond and Consell 2-1, and just on the face of it, I thought Money Moves would have been the right choice, but the 6 really prevailed.
I'm watching the replay right now, guys, for the first time. And again, apologize for being in a little late, but it really seemed to me like Money Moves ran a pretty good race there. You know, first race out in a while, racing against older horses. I wouldn't be discouraged with him at all. I thought he was pretty good. But yeah, I mean, the 6, like Jared, you described it pretty well. Split horses and just took off there for an easy win. So, well, I guess the margin wasn't easy, but I don't think that horse was ever losing once he got to the lead there. So. Yeah, I mean, like I say, Saratoga, man, it's crazy right now. You know, the favorites that you think you need to play against, they win, and then the favorites you think are going to be easy winners, like Sister Charlie, they lose. So I don't know if that's a situation volatile or later on in the day or not. But I guess
what did it for me with the 6 is that the horse obviously when switching to the dirt has looked like a different horse. And then the last race out, did finish second, but, it's all relevant wire to wire, and a horse is probably going to a stakes race next. That was stretching out to a mile 16th, and it looked like, Prioritize just needed a lot more distance. Ran a big time buyer that day, increased his buyer off, 10 points off the previous race. So I thought, well, the upside is there. Again, if you're looking value, I understand why a lot of players would not use this horse, considering can you really take 2-1 on a horse that can't seem to win lately. But that's pretty much ultimately why I end up going with the horse, why I like the horse. But anyway, so we move on to the next one. Race 9, of course, might be tougher than that one on the turf here, and this is this one is anything but easy to handicap. Where did you guys land here?
Halty?
I was hoping I didn't have to go first on that.
Oh,
one.
I'll go. That's
Okay.
fine. So I went with Barley 1. I don't think I was really going out on a limb. I just thought there was a tactical advantage that he has. John Velasquez picks up again, and I really like that effort last time out. If we go 2 starts back on June 4th, that was off the layoff, and I didn't really expect too much. And Dan Fusi's a nice, solid horse. And then again on June 26th, that was the big blowout. And a lot of these horses I wasn't all that impressed with, to be honest with you. I thought this was a way you can go, again, kind of similar to last race, you could find value. But I just thought last effort really stood out for Barley 1. And again, I kind of went a little deeper too. I did like the 7 a little bit, Mo Ready. I mean, obviously Pletcher's good at any time, but I mean, that horse hasn't gotten a firm turf in a long time, right? So if we want to real quick go back to the 2 Aqueduct races, no surprise, it was yielding come Thanksgiving in early December. But that firm turf here at Saratoga, that was the win there, and beat Maxwell Esquire, who's also a nice turf horse. So those are the 2 that I went with, Barley 1 and the 7, Mo Ready, I believe, for top Pletcher.
Yeah, so I like your top pick definitely in this race. I used for sure. I went towards the outside with the 12 horse Stan Hope for Brad Cox. First time out for Brad Cox. Actually, used to be in the Shug McGahee barn. Coming off a long layoff, but that's never a problem for Cox. It's almost like he's kind of Chad Brown in a way, where it's almost kind of a positive. And last time out was all the way back in November at Aqueduct, but ran a really nice race. I definitely think the turf is the thing for this horse, and I think he's going to be pretty tough to beat here. Mo Ready was one I debated on for a long time. I actually ended up leaving Mo Ready out, and instead I played the 3 horse Simply for Steve Asmussen, because I really like the Asmussen-Rosario combo. When those 2 get together, it's pretty good, and the horse is stretching out to a mile and 16th, which I think is what this horse needs. It's 6 furlongs last time out. Almost seems like a little bit of a prep for this one. So I'm with you kind of on Mo Ready being that fringe type play here, but I went 12, 3, and 4 as my top 3.
Yeah, I mean, the only other one that you guys didn't really talk about that I liked as well, I thought the 9 was interesting at 10-1, now being bet down to 8-1. I'm on DRF right now, so I might not be completely updated. But I thought he's got figures that are competitive with this bunch. He can be tactical and sit way back. He can also sit a little bit forward if the speed doesn't hold up. obviously, the horse runs a little bit better on a yielding turf surface that we're not going to get here. But at that price, I thought that was one that needed to be included. I was 7-9-12, and then I was using the 3-4 defensively in my pick 5 that is now busted.
Well, I'm 100% with you on the 9, and I had him as the 4th choice, and the reason being was for that figure that you talked about, especially last time out. I think this horse has got every right to win here, and I'm with you. I think 8-1 is a pretty good price. So I think he's definitely one you have to include. And it's kind of a situation. I don't know what you guys had pick 4, pick 5 going in, but this was definitely a race where you felt like you could spread because you could go a little bit shorter and race thin. So I mean those are my 4 right there that we went through.
Yeah, I'll even throw in one that you guys. I mean, if you're looking for a price, a horse that I think, it's a tough race, so it goes as deep as you can. I like the 10 a little bit, Turbo Drive at 15-1 right now. I mean, it's a horse that, somehow gets Irad Ortiz to come over and ride for Maker there, and a horse that, hasn't ran great, hasn't ran terrible either, but, stretching out for the first time in a long time, ran a mile 16th. Actually, last time this horse ran a mile 16th was at Saratoga last August and finished 3rd to Mo Ready and Maxwell Esquire. But I definitely feel like you get Irad, you get the longer distance. Obviously, the horse probably be a little bit better at going longer, but at that price, closing late, perhaps give me Irad, the patented Irad Ortiz pumping down the stretch, trying to get there. But again, I mean, I don't hate any of the picks. I think this is much tougher. I like Mo Ready, but I'm definitely trying to beat Mo Ready here.
Yeah, what is Mo Ready 3-1? Is that accurate? What I'm seeing right there? Wow. Yeah. So I don't think anybody. Well, I don't know, man. 3-1 maybe would be about the lowest anybody should be in there. This is a crazy race. New York breds on the turf going 2 turns at Saratoga. I mean, that's what long shots are made of, right? So it's gonna be a lot of it's gonna be a scramble at the end for sure. I mean, I really can't get over that the 6 won that last race. I can't believe that. But I came in at the exact wrong time, I believe. But anyway.
Well, we had 20 minutes to post here, and obviously this is not the exciting or highlight of the day. So we'll kind of talk a little bit about the next race, which of course is the Grade 1 Vanderbilt and features a horse that we had Sister Charlie running earlier in the car in the Boston Spa, gets beat, finishes 3rd, which I would like to talk a little bit about that. Actually, let's talk about that because, we've got time to kill. I mean, we talked about it on Blinkers Off and just thought that was the kind of race that you could see her losing. But then at the same time, we're like, but who beats her and how can you kind of get there to beat her? And yet not only does she lose, she finishes 3rd. Definitely looks short. We knew the distance would be short for her, but you kind of assumed the class would prevail and the horse that definitely fires off the bench her entire career. So what you guys think of Sister Charlie, finishing 3rd?
She really didn't look the same to me. She didn't look like the same horse. I was pretty shocked by that loss. And it wasn't so much the loss. It was really like she was just kind of spinning her wheels in the stretch. Like, let's pretend the last 50 yards, she makes up 3 or 4 lengths and loses by a head. Then you exit that race and say, okay, that's not so bad. But boy, it didn't look good to me. I was pretty disappointed with that effort.
So
I was more disappointed in the steady job by Joel on Call Me Love coming up, trying to catch that lone leader. I was on the 1. I was trying to beat Sister Charlie with Call Me Love, so that was a little irritating there. But I agree with you. Coming off the layoff into her 6-year-old year, maybe she was just a little flat coming into it. I don't, I thought the same thing. It doesn't seem like the same horse, but I want to give her that excuse of, maybe come back it a little bit sharper. And I think the exact same thing. I wanted to see that kind of kick into gear, and it just didn't really seem like, maybe she kicked it up a little bit, but it wasn't the same that we're used to seeing, that I thought.
So I'm going to be even more harsh. 2-5 on the morning line, and I think that was a little unfair to Starship Jubilee, who really looked her best as of right now. And Kevin Attar, who really runs up in Canada at Woodbine, waited for this spot specifically, and this was his first starter at the meet. I think Starship Jubilee was primed for this spot, so I'm not going to take anything away from her. But Sister Charlie had the setup from just on paper from the start with the class, but we also saw North Broadway do what North Broadway was supposed to do. The other Peter Brandt to set up that spot for Sister Charlie. And, Jared, I'll throw to you. Maxfield, who obviously, unfortunately, is not running, but had that wide range where you knew he would just get going. And I think that's kind of what we thought we would see here from Sister Charlie. At some point, she's going to get going. And this is the second start now, granted, off the layoff. This is the second start now where she hasn't looked herself. So as horse players, we have to start looking, at our handicapping. I'm not saying you were going to try to beat her and leave her off tickets. I'm just saying we have to start looking at least at the win bets to see what price we're willing to take at this point, because this is the second effort, and Chad Brown's so good off the layoff. To me, it's slightly concerning, I have to be honest.
Yeah, I mean, and we mentioned on the pod, I mean, if there's ever a horse and trainer combo that you can trust, it's off the bench, it's Sister Charlie and Chad Brown. She's made a career of starting and really well off the bench. Last year she debuted for the year into Diana, and of course, we saw what happened there. So yeah, it just looked like kind of like you guys are saying when they have that typical time when you kind of like, is she going to get there? And then she makes that final move where you're like, yeah, she's getting there. She just kind of lacked that last little punch. She looked short. She looked, I don't know, you wonder too, as these horses get older, these mares, especially as they get older, just when they kind of decide they're done running. And yeah, I mean, I hate to, a lot of people, like the guys on Naira and stuff were like, whatever, like no big deal. Like, she'll be back. But to me, I was like, you would have liked to have seen her, if she is going to lose, obviously you'd like to have seen her finish second and get like nailed the wire, or, didn't get there in time. You're like, well, she needed longer. We know that, but she wasn't really close, and so that to me was pretty discouraging. I don't know. I mean, I could see an angle of trying to play against her next out, because she's going to take a ton of money again. And I think obviously the competition would be even tougher then.
Yeah, it's going to be a lot tougher, I would think. They're probably running a grade 1 next. And yeah, you guys, I was watching on my phone, and I was saying to you guys, they rounded the corner, and I'm like, okay, here comes the burst, here comes the kick. Just never happened. And the other thing, I don't know how it's played today, but closers on the Saratoga turf course have been great. So there's just no excuse you could find other than the fact that she's now 6 years old, and maybe she's just a tired horse at this point. And Jared, we've talked about this a lot with these really good horses at the stakes level. The races tell us, because they always train well. We always go back to Alternation, a horse that we love, who totally quit on Donnie K. He didn't want to run anymore. But they kept trying him, because in the mornings he would run. He would have a bullet workout, and they go, "Oh, I don't know what's the matter with him. He's fine in the mornings." It may just be that willingness to compete. She's kind of lost it, and maybe she's looking for a second career now as a broodmare. I mean, that's kind of where I'm at with it after that. Like I said, I would have loved to have seen a burst at some point, and we just kind of saw her run in place today. And again, you can say what you want about Starship Jubilee. That's a high quality horse. There's no question about it. But those two horses that finished ahead of her, they're not monsters by any means. And they did not get any kind of setup that would have allowed them to beat her today. So that's just where I'm at with it.
Well, right. And, you guys talked about maybe, the layoff, whatnot. We could, and I think Naira, I don't know how biased, we're going to be, but I think they were doing a Chad Brown, a favor kind of by letting her off the hook. If we're just going to take a look at these, Sister Charlie has 15 starts at 6. Starship Jubilee has 35 at 17. That tells me something. Now, granted, Sister Charlie has run and better races and obviously has performed well what expectations ever could have been. But we have to, like Aaron, to your point, we kind of have to look at it and say, is her new career maybe on the next move? I'm not saying she's done, and we're not saying she's not talented. But at the same time, these are back-to-back efforts, and this wasn't a great field. I think Call Me Love is a nice horse, and I think Starship Jubilee is nice, but definitely a cut below what Sister Charlie at her prime is. I think we all agree on that. So I guess the Diana's going to be next again. But even Jared, to your point, she ran well at it last year, off the layoff, and we kind of expected the same thing. She took a lot of money and didn't really run.
Yeah, I mean, like you said a little bit, I kind of attributed like a long, she kind of had a tough campaign a little bit after she came back last year, and you said, okay, the Breeders' Cup, she was just a little tired, but that's 2 races in a row, like you say, that she's kind of lacked that major kick that she's kind of her signature move, so to speak. It wasn't, I don't know. We'll see, and they did it all, everything the way it was supposed to do, like the stablemate went and set the crazy fractions or, and they set it up just for her and it just didn't work. So it'll be interesting to see her, I think this next race is huge, right? Because we just have never seen her, we've never seen her kind of look that off multiple times in a row. So that to me is this next race will be a big telling point. In fact, I go back to her time in the United States. The horse, this is her first time in her career she's lost multiple times in a row. That tells you something. Finishing third, obviously in the Breeders' Cup Filly Mare Turf, and then finishing third again today in Boston Spa. She's never, when she finished second by nose in New York, she came back to win the Diana. When she finished second on her debut in the Belmont Oaks, she came back to win the Jenny Wiley. And frankly, besides the time before she came overseas into her debut here in the United States, this is the first time she's ever lost multiple races in a row. So yeah, this next one, wherever if they go to the Diana or whatever, that's the big one, right? That should be a big time telling point. What is she?
Yeah, no, I mean, and those times you talked where she did lose, she kind of had excuses like she's 50 lengths back and just couldn't beat a speed horse type of thing. So yeah, it was sad to see. That's one of my favorites. So hey, are we doing Del Mar, because we got a stakes race about to go at Del Mar?
Yeah, we are sitting here waiting, obviously, for the next race here at Saratoga. So yeah, let's jump over here to.
They're out. They're out of the gate already.
Yeah, Ragtime Blues is out ahead right now. So
this is an easy call. 4-horse field. I think we could all call this one if Larry Colmus decided to take this one off.
Well, Ragtime Blues and Vertical Threat, those are the 2 horses to have here, and it looks like it's going to be a match race. Ragtime Blues has got about length lead, 22-1 for the opening quarter, and looks like Vertical Threat might just run right on by. Let's see what happens here. I don't know. Ragtime Blues is but not
the four's definitely moving better.
The 4, yeah, 4's still in hand. Look back, yeah, 4's.
Ford changes leads. There he does, sort of. There he goes. Yeah, he's gone. He'll win by 6 probably at least.
So I don't know how closely everyone dissected this, but this was one of those races that if you were going to play a win bet, and I hate doing this. This is not the way to handicap. I would just almost wait for the higher price, because this is not the way to handicap at all. You're not supposed to look at and make that decision. But 3 to 5 or 6 to 5 for such even horses, I'll take 6 to 5.
Yeah.
And again, that's in such a short race. Such a short field with only 4 horses that it's one of the rare times where I would have just waited for the price at the last minute, because Baffert and Smith are going to be the shorter price.
Yeah, they took the money, and you're right. It was just a 2-horse race the whole way around. No matter how you handicapped it, so no surprise there at Del Mar, and that's saying something. There's usually big surprises at Del Mar, but not in that one.
I'm just glad you guys finally started talking about Del Mar. I can finally join the conversation here.
Oh, there he is.
Where have you been?
I was just sitting here waiting until there was something interesting to talk about.
I've been seeing him on the feed down below, before he went live. And
I texted you. I said, don't add me in. I'm going to hang out back here. And the first thing he does is he throws me in. I'm like, no.
I think he forgot he was on a live camera on for me anyways. I could see what he was doing. It was very disturbing.
Oh, yeah. Well, yeah, on the admin side, yeah, you get to see everything. I hope you enjoyed that show.
No, I didn't. All right, so we are getting closer to the race 9. Then obviously we get into the Vanderbilt, which we'll talk a little bit about after this race. And I want to talk since Del Mar, at least the stakes racing at Del Mar, for some of us on the East and Central time zones are going to be like tonight. So, we're going to talk a little bit about obviously Maximum Security making his. Can you imagine a day? What if Volta loses? Sister Charlie already lost. I mean, can we imagine a day where all three of those horses lose?
Anarchy. Just burn it all down.
I can't imagine it. I don't think it's going to happen. Listen, that race is so uninteresting that it might end up being interesting, right? I mean, that's like it's such. If say the service thing had never happened, we would probably be sitting here saying that horse is going. Maximum Security is going to win by 100 against those horses, but with all the mystery, it makes it weird. So it's definitely must-watch television. Like say later tonight for us in Middle America or on the East Coast, it's gonna be fascinating to see that race.
There's nothing interesting about the race like you say, in a way of meaning like, like if both horses bring it, it's going to be a hell of a race. It's just a matter of what does this horse look like, post service into Baffert. So, I mean, and I think it's a lot, and there's a lot on the line, like we mentioned on Blinkers Off, because you're talking about a horse that goes from, you and I have consistently been ranking this horse either on the top or very, top three. And so you're kind of like, this horse is either like goes into the Classic as the favorite or isn't, is not going to run in it. That's kind of where we're at with Maximum Security, because if the horse goes and wins today and then, of course, comes back and wins the Pacific Classic, he's Bob Baffert. The horse will be the favorite no matter what Tom Diatot does between now and then, And so, and it adds a lot of intrigue, obviously, to the race. But I think it also, Friends Fire are going to run here in a little bit in the Vanderbilt, another service-trained horse, formerly service-trained horse. And it kind of adds like, okay, we actually want, I don't know about you guys, I want Maximum Security to run well and do well, because I don't want to sit here and be like, well, it was the drugs and that was just a joke. I still, and I've been ranking him steadily, thinking, okay, don't blame the horse for that idiot. Let's see what he does on the track, and then you can make that assessment.
Yeah, we talked about it with Frenzy Fire. Right. When he won the True North and we were on there, it's like, well, good for the horse. Right. So listen, I think the problem with Maximum Security, where people are still not going to root for him, is his current trainer has the same kind of issues that people speculate about. It's just not been put on paper, so as a fan of the horse, I'm rooting for him. But again, it's kind of like, I don't know if I think he's still going to be a polarizing horse, I guess. Magic, maybe kick it to you because you're the West Coast guy, right? He's still going to be a polarizing horse.
Oh yeah, it's not like he went to somebody like a Graham Motion or a Christophe Clement or a Michael McCarthy, like guys who have pretty stellar records. It's like, no, we gave him to Baffert, who I don't know if you guys heard this news, if it made it out, if it was national, but the CHRB is now formally holding a hearing about justifying the scopolamine positive from the Santa Anita Derby. So like we're throwing Baffert right back into the fire when he's already had Charlatan and Gamine this year. It's not a good look for Baffert. So it's going to be interesting to see what happens here. I think what Jared said is a great point. I think there are plenty of people who are fans of the horse and people who were rooting for him despite who his trainer was. I remember when he crossed the wire first at the Derby, my immediate reaction was, God damn it, like a service won the Kentucky Derby. Yeah. Like I wasn't mad at the horse because the horse I thought ran well, other than that weird thing he did in the turn. But you were just so anti, service that it was hard to cheer for him. Baffert's a much more likable guy in the press, in the media. If you ever get a chance to meet Bob Baffert and talk to him, it's hard not to like him. He's very very outgoing and very personable. So I think he'll be easier to root for him here. But I don't know, Aaron, you brought up a good point. You took him away from one trainer that had all of these known, federal charges to another trainer who is currently facing several different hearings for different horses, one dating back to 2 years ago. So I don't know. It's a little iffy, but that's California racing. It's what we deal with.
So for those of you that maybe don't know, basically what's happened is, came out after the fact that Justified, failed a drug test after the Santa Anita Derby, which obviously by the rules would have DQ'd him from that race, also DQing him from the points he would have gotten from the race, which if you remember, he had no points. He had to win the race to get into the Kentucky Derby. So you're essentially talking about a defection that would have cost a Triple Crown. It all got swept under until Nick Ruiz, who had Bolt Dioro in the race, was like, no, we're going to challenge this, because obviously not just that, there's purse money, and there's also just setting a standard in California racing. So obviously it's taken a while, and now they've basically got to the point where it's like, okay, now we're going to review this, officially going to review this. So, I don't know what there is to, at this point, you're like, we know it came back positive. The rules say if it comes back positive, it's a DQ, so I guess you could sit here and argue and say, well, he would have won the Preakness in the Belmont, so you don't, you can't sit, but you don't know that. He may not have been, he may not have been seen again. So it definitely changes. And it's another thing why it's like, even though we did have another Triple Crown, I think that's why all this kind of felt like, it was different than Pharaoh winning it.
No doubt. Absolutely. I always kind of felt that way. It's hard not to be skeptical with Baffert when there's so many different things we could point to, right? So, that's just kind of what it comes down to. But well, listen, I used to think very negatively about Maximum Security. Now it's kind of like I really think he's a good horse. Now I'm back to maybe he was drugged really hard the whole time. So I don't really know. I don't know if today's going to make me feel one way or the other. But he's an interesting horse to come back. So that's good. We're getting ready to load in the gate here at Saratoga too, guys.
All right, final picks here in this race, guys.
12.
4.
7. I don't know who's racing.
That's actually a good choice. That's a good choice. Well,
you picked the favorite, so congratulations.
What race is this?
The 9th. It's,
I'll go with my long shot there, the 10 horse at 17-1. So just throw all those in there, and but no, it's they're getting ready to go. Yeah, the Mile 16th on the turf, and obviously it heads into the Vanderbilt next. So all right, they are getting ready to go, and they're off.
All right. And Stanhope did exactly what he needed to do from that far outside post. It's going to be quick into that turn, and even here he's going to be 4 or 5 wide. It's just a tough spot, but nice work there to get to the outside.
Yeah, he did it. He did all he could do. You couldn't gun it any harder than that. So maybe he can save ground into this next turn.
Your 4 looks all right too there, Ricky.
Yep.
Yeah, 23 and almost 0.2. It's a little quick. I think they're going to slow it down because I think, if they are doing the homework, they know Albi's not a real win contender. So I think the 4 and 12 can kind of just coast along. And as they're going on the backstretch, they do look like they're kind of just coasting in a really good spot.
I don't know. That second quarter was a lot sharper than it seemed like, though. 46-5. I wonder if that's accurate. That didn't seem like it was that fast. Well, Sean, our 9's in a good spot.
Yeah, that's really the only price I have on my ticket. Well, on the pick 3 that I just played. So hopefully that one keeps going.
Come on, 9.
5 looks good coming up from behind too.
Yep.
Where's my 7 at?
This is wide open.
Yeah, this is going to be a cluster here.
Cavalry charge.
Come on, 9.
Dig in.
Come on, 9. Get up. Come on.
Come on, Irad. Come on, 10.
Oh, here comes the 10, dude.
Come on, 10. Come on, 10.
He's going to win by 100. No, you're not the 5. Nope, 10's got it easy.
Look at that horse. 17-1 winner. Boom.
Wow.
Good job, Jared.
Yep, good pick.
That warrants the hat turnaround.
That's 2 for 2, baby.
What's funny is Jared never saw that horse one time the whole race until the IRAD made that huge move. He's like, holy shit, I might win.
Well, I was watching the whole way, but I didn't think, it looked like, they returned for home. It kind of looked like he was just going to be mid-pack, but then he split those horses. He thought, uh-oh, here he comes. And like I said, with IRAD, when you've got IRAD, if he's got horse, he's gonna do everything he can to get that horse home. And damn, man, that horse was much the best.
Yeah. Oh yeah, he won easy.
So you talked, Jared, and you brought up a good point. You talked about IRAD riding from Maker. They're at 26% in the last 365. So that's definitely an overlay. I mean, I'll be honest. I don't know if we were on this horse besides you, but at 17-1, Maker and IRAD definitely just on paper is a nice price. So that was a good pick.
Very good. Yep. Very good pick.
Here to give out winners, guys. Okay, so that's all I'm here for.
It's your turn this week. That was an excellent pick. Yeah, man. Okay, you may have been watching him, but I had no idea that horse was still in the race until I saw him.
Well, I was watching him because I was ready for you guys just to give me so much shit. That horse, never even finished crossed the wire or some shit. So when I saw he was loaded, I thought, uh-oh, it's gonna be fun. So. That was fun. Who even finished? Who was second there? I had my eyes closed, screaming. So
it looked like it was between the 9 and the 7.
Yeah. I think the 9 got third. I'm pretty sure. So yeah, and that's just a really good pick, and that was just a scramble. They went really fast. I mean, I guess those fractions were accurate. The way the speed kind of backed up there. They went fast, and it set it up for IRAD to make, like you said before the race, Jared, to make that patented move. And boy, did he. I mean, he really came with a strong move there.
All right. I think that's going to qualify for another Truly. That's what I think that's going to do.
You got to hit winners to get another one?
Well, I was going to get one either way, but now it's going to taste even better. So
yeah. I just would have figured you'd have something with alcohol in it if you picked a winner like that.
It takes me 3 Trulies to get wasted these days.
Damn.
Yeah.
Hey, I'm jealous to have that low level of tolerance. My tolerance has skyrocketed since quarantine happened.
Yeah, right.
I'm going through bottles of Jack every other week. I'm like, this isn't that good.
Well, I know that this is going to be followed with giving me shit, but when I drink my Miller Lights, it doesn't. I mean, I can drink those all night; it just doesn't do anything. So, Alcoholics Anonymous show.
Man, I usually say I'm drunk, not an alcoholic, because alcoholics go to meetings, but this is a meeting. It's not very anonymous because we all have our Twitter handles up there, but Alcoholics Public, I don't know.
Oh man, yeah.
I think and we kind of talked about it. I think we didn't think that pace would be that hot. We knew the 12 had to go, and I kind of thought the 4 would kind of just hang back. We knew that once the 2 was out there at, I think, 12-1, he was kind of forced. I think they just kind of formed a wall, and in doing so, no one really bore out or dug in. They kind of all just stood there. And everyone lined up, and I think it was kind of the last one to make a move, which was IRAD. And then, that's why he looked like such a clear winner. Almost, what was that, 2 lengths, a length and a half. He was just the last one to make a move. And it kind of, those situations are just tough because you don't want to be the last one when a wall forms because then you could get stuck. And it just kind of really developed, and IRAD was the only one able to kick home.
He found a lane, there's no doubt. IRAD and Jose, they just find ways. You don't see them get stuck very often. And when they do, we all talk about it for days because it just doesn't happen very often. So it's a big story when it happens. Man, I don't know. Saratoga is a puzzle that has been tough to figure out today by the looks of these last 2 races I've watched live and the 3rd race that I got to watch live. So who knows, right? Maybe Volatile, he's getting ready to get last in this race. I'm not sure. It's going to be tough.
This all seems very true to form to me. I don't know what you guys are complaining about. I've handicapped 2 races today. I don't understand. Go ahead.
No, I was going to ask, were you looking at the form, or were you just on TVG looking at the jockey and trainer?
I was looking at the form, but
okay.
I was reading it backwards. It turned out that no, I'm using DRF PPs, and I'm also using Timeform. So that's what I'm using. Halter's a Timeform guy. I'm more of a paper DRF guy, but I'm trying to do a better job these days of combining the two. So okay, so as we sit here, we are getting closer to, of course, this race is still unofficial, but when they're getting ready to go to the Grade 1 Vanderbilt, we've talked about this race a couple times today. 4 to 5 Alto. I'm guessing that horse is going to open up as like 1 to 5. Whitmore, the old knock Whitmore, still around, 7 years old, 2 to 1. You got Mind Control 6 to 1, Friends Fire at 4 to 1, and then Lexingtonian is your long shot there at 20 to 1. So obviously the race starts and ends with Alto. Are you guys? I know Halterman and I are. Are you guys kind of buying into this is kind of the next, could be the next Matoli?
I think I need to see this before. I'll buy into it after I see this, but going into it, I mean, Churchill Downs always plays a touch faster than Saratoga. If you can get on top, and I'm not saying Volatile's bad. I'm just saying I think there's a real speed bias, especially during the Belmont meet. It was really evident. But yeah, I'm all in. If he can not even blow this field out, because this is a quality group. I don't think he's just going to be able to run over this field. Whitmore is obviously talented, and we're going to see what Firenze Fire is. And I think Mind Control does have 2 wins at Saratoga. So, last time out, sloppy track in the Carter against Vacoma. No thanks. I think we're going to see a better Mind Control. So this is a tough field, but I think Volatile is. I'm sure, I didn't get a chance to listen to Blinkers Off, but I'm sure Volatile's going to live up to whatever pedigree you guys put him on.
What the hell, dude?
It was a busy week.
Ricky, it was nice working with you, Ricky. I hope you.
It was a busy week. It was a busy week. I'm sure you guys said Volatile's going to be the next big thing, so I'm on board.
Did you listen to Magic Mike show at least?
No, I didn't listen to both. I was equally fair in not listening to both.
That's all that matters. As long as you weren't listening to them, that's all that matters.
You forget the podcast. You listen to it live while you're working. Work never even knows. You're just,
Yeah, but
you take a little hour break of work.
Well, if I listen to Samich as I'm going through what I'm going to be landing on horses that I never would have landed on. So it's better that I probably separate the two in terms of, I guess it depends what the activity is, but Samich might throw me off a horse that I liked or didn't like, and so I'll separate it.
I want to touch on something. I think this would be interesting for people that are watching. You and I talk about, your picks or my picks versus Samich's. He really does have a style that's completely his own. I mean, I think that's the best way to describe it. And that's not, and by the way, this is not a knock on him at all. But Ricky and I, or Ricky really, you especially, will have a lot of different picks. It seems like than him. I think he's made it pretty clear over the years now that he's been here what he tries to do. Ricky, try to give the people watching like a little bit of your handicapping style as well.
Yeah. So the first thing I'll do, I'll try to, you were the one who put me onto Timeform. So one of the things I'll do is I'll kind of draw a little box. Honestly, the first thing I do, I'll draw a little box of 8 to 10 horses, and I'll try to map out what I think the backstretch is going to look like, or if it's a quick turn. And what I'll do from that point is if I think there's going to, I'll try to map it out in thirds, front runners, mid pack, far behind. And it's not going to be a perfect diagram, but what I'll try to do is give myself a mental picture of what I'm about to see. And then I'll also make another mental picture or jot it down of what I think the horse's best running style is. So before I even compare to what class and surface switch, I want to see how many are in box A, B, or C in terms of thirds. And that's going to give me a mental picture of how I think the race is going to play out. Obviously, you might see some speed that would put you in box A, but if the times are slow, that really might drop you into box C. So that's one of the things I do. And we talked about it a lot, and you brought up the point. We handicap the same. I kind of look at multi-race sequences sometimes, especially in these big pools. Can I survive? as opposed to trying to hit the big score. Because sometimes when you could just survive and advance, as I like to say, the pools are so big that they're going to pay. When you go, some of the smaller tracks where you kind of need that long shot to eliminate other people or in that survive and advance. But I just really like to get what that horse is going to do best. And then I'll see from there how they fit competitively. And then I'll start to break down what the condition is and things like that. But I really try to give myself a mental picture into thirds. And visually, that's always been good for me. And then I try to go off the race replays. I think that's really important because we talked about, I don't know if it was last show or 2 starts ago, one of the turf horses went to David Donk. And I said it was a 3 horse. And I remember you saying, I wish we had this conversation the night before. And I said, if you watch this replay, this horse had no shot of winning. But then he got Donk and the horse won by 4. I think race replays really tell you more than the form will give you. And those comments are really important as well. That's one of the things that I've learned, talking to Magic, you, Jared, reading Sean all over Twitter and his great insight. I think it's important to take those track comments that you see on the side and really investigate yourself and don't just take them what they are because that's someone else's bias. I think you have to make your own opinion or form your own opinion, watch the race replay and kind of see, does your 3 or 4 words match up with that is? Because that might change your outcome or, at least on Equibase, what I read, there's a red arrow. If I see a red arrow, I'm looking at the race replay immediately. So those are just some of the things. And again, if I had a perfect formula, I'd be hitting 8 tickets a day, but I don't. I just like to give myself a mental picture, and I want to see these horses in action because we talked about volatile, just stretching. You could see them stretch even at that furlong. I want to see these horses really give their max effort, and sometimes they might be running in lower classes, but they're trying, and that means a lot to me as well. So I just try to give myself as much visual information as I can.
It's a very adult answer for a child. I mean, I
just turned 15 like last Tuesday.
I thought he was just going to say, I just kind of look at the form and pick one, but that was a good answer. No, I think you're right. And I think the big thing that you and I really agree on is that technique of let's survive and advance on those bigger days. Let's not. Every situation is different, and a lot of times, like you said, on the smaller tracks or smaller days, you do kind of have to create that value, and maybe single somewhere that you maybe not shouldn't, but it's kind of more of a risk, but you're trying to knock people out. Where the big days, it's just like let's just get it home. It's going to pay, So yeah, that's I mean, it's crazy. We have a lot of different guys, and everybody's a little different. And Magic, I think. I don't want to speak for you, but to kind of throw it back to your style a little bit, it feels like, that knowledge of a local circuit and whether you watch replays or you knew or you remembered those horses in that race, that kind of was one of your biggest angles as well, right?
Yeah, that's my favorite thing to do, really. I love focusing on one specific circuit and then just following the stakes around the country as they happen because I really have learned, what jockey tendencies are, what trainer tendencies are. It's sometimes I got a little too high on my own supply. There were times where there's jockeys that I really hate or trainers that I really dislike, and I've been so stubbornly against them that that's come back to bite me in the ass. So I've recently learned to calm that down a little bit. But for example, I used to hate Heriberto Figueroa, and he just won that stakes race at Del Mar in race 2. So I played that horse, me a couple of months ago, I probably would have said, F that jockey, I hate him. So for no reason other than there was, I didn't think that he was an elite level rider in the past, but it's, I don't know, you follow these things, you get to understanding for tendencies. Right now, the course at Del Mar, we're only going to be the 3rd race here, but I don't know if anybody watched Friday at Del Mar. There were 2 things that stood out. Horses on the lead on the inside were pooping out hard, and horses that were rallying 6 deep in the stretch seemed to have rockets under their butts. So Sister Charlie, if she was racing on dirt today at Del Mar instead of the turf at Saratoga, I think she would have won by quite a lot there, just the way the things have been playing. So it's curious to see how Del Mar is going to play here as things continue to go. I've already seen some jockeys try to adjust how they ride. Like I noticed Mike Smith throughout the day yesterday was moving his horses out a little bit off the turn, trying to get them a little bit more space to kick. So we'll see what Abel Cedillo does with Maximum Security. I assume he's going to be on the lead. It's just a matter of is he going to try and keep him off the rail a little bit just to make sure he's got the best ground possible at Del Mar.
All right, they're getting ready to load here at Del Mar, so we'll just switch over to Del Mar and watch this one. Who do you guys have? You guys playing this, pounding this favorite?
I did, because he actually, when they before they canceled racing last weekend, Dark Vader was actually supposed to be in the San Diego Handicap, and then they redrew everything, and Peter Urton went nope, and he backed right out, and he put him in this spot. So if he was confident enough, knowing Maximum Security was going to be in the San Diego Handicap last week, and then this spot comes up a week later, is a much softer spot. I mean, I think it was the right move, because I don't think Dark Vader could have sniffed Maximum Security's jock, but I went 3-6 here. The Speedy Lambo is the 6 horse. And if he ends up, taking this field gate to wire, I don't want him to beat me here. But Halty, what about you? Where'd you go here?
Yeah, I was the same with you. I went Dark Vader on top, and kind of the same reason. I think he's the class of the field, and like you said, like the confidence level has to be there if you're going to try to put a horse in the San Diego. So obviously that's a good sign. I thought it got a little further off now, so I guess I'll stop talking. The 3, that's what I like.
Yeah, Ricky, what about you?
Yeah, I was a 6. As you talked about, Peter and had the scheduled run, and then the only 2020 start was against McKinsey. That's obviously finished 3rd. One of the things that just did a short price, I always like the horse just hasn't won enough for me in terms of the win part.
Right.
In terms of the seconds. Win, right? Lots of seconds, and 3rd, and again, coming to 3rd to McKinsey is not an issue. I think we understand that, but you do get to a point where you do at 4 to 5, you want to see the horse win. So that I'm just talking on the win wager part. I would take the 6 at just slightly over double. I do think it's a 2-horse race though. If we're gonna really,
if you notice Mike Smith on Lambo here, he's doing what I talked about. He's got that horse a lane off. I don't know if it's going to make a difference here because the 3's looking pretty sharp, but he kept that lane open even after he cleared the 1 horse. So we'll see.
About it being a match race, that's certainly how it looks right now. The 2 have pretty much gone right at each other the whole race, and they're getting ready to enter the stretch neck and neck.
Looks like
watch out! That stupid 7 horse. Oh, he's had no full out drive, but that stupid 7 horse gets me. See, and again, off the turn, he's off the lane with Lambo. I don't know if it's going to work to get him to win, but he's being smart about the track.
Oh my goodness!
Don't let that 7 beat you. Come on. Yeah. God, he's a new lone sailor. Don't you hang. No. All right, he's got it.
He got him.
Easy, Pete. I got nailed in that first race, the opener with that turf horse. I got nailed at the wire. I had the winner, and then he got caught, and I couldn't believe my luck, and I thought I was just about to have it happen again right there.
So this, if we talk about Dark Vader, and this was one of the things, he never got the lead. This time he was able to get the lead and hold on, and I think that was one of the things. And Magic, you talked about, and I think getting the lead there was the difference, because if Dark Vader is still behind the 6, I don't know if he would have caught. I think Lambo falling back and kind of letting Dark Vader go, making that move a touch early, I think really made the difference, because he was able to keep the 7 away.
And that was Reese Pooley was on there. Why did I think Cedillo was riding? Yeah, that's a good one.
4 to 5. That was too much for 4 to 5. You'd like to see him a little better than that.
I know.
Let's shift back over to Saratoga. Obviously, the Vanderbilt coming up. We are 13 minutes to post with 1 to 4 on Volatile. Obviously, no surprise getting pounded. 5 to 1 on Whitmore, Friends Fire, 6 to 1, Mind Control, 7 to 1, 27 to 1 on Lexingtonian. So, you have a 1 to 4 shot. We just talked about playing favorites and how they should win. 1 to 4, this horse should blaze, right? That's the way the betting public is viewing this race. And, a horse that has only lost once in his career, 3 straight wins, including an unbelievable performance last time out, nearly set a track record at Churchill Downs, which is saying something. And, and mind you, if Santana would have pumped this horse at all down the stretch, he may have set the track record. So a horse that coming in off a monster performance for Asmussen, he looks the goods. There's really the only way you go against him here is if you just say, I'm not playing 1 to 5 or 1 to 4 or whatever, and I'm playing someone else. And he kind of like Ricky said earlier, you're like, I'm just going to have to let him prove it to me in a stakes competition, like a graded stakes competition. So, or do you say, you know what? I think he's a goods. I'm singling him and move on.
You know, the one thing about it, he can make you look a little stupid here because he's not the class of the field by any stretch of the imagination. You know, and he's not even the second classiest horse. He's not even the third classiest horse when it comes to horses that have won big races. So anytime you take a short price on a horse like this, you have the ability to look a little dumb here, but I'm taking it because he looked like another elite world type of horse in his last 2 races.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, you've got, multiple, out of the 5 horses in the field, 3 of them are multimillionaires as far as earnings go.
Mm-hmm.
And Volatile ain't one of them. Volatile has earned about $200K in his career, whereas Whitmore's earned about $3 million more than that. So you're talking about class. Whitmore towers over him. Friends Fire towers over him. Mind Control towers over him. But I mean, Mind Control, his best career buyer has been a 99 buyer, which, I mean, that's great. But, Volatile sit back-to-back triple-digit buyers, including a 112 last time out. I said it on the pod. I'll say it again. I think if there's a horse that's going to upset him here, it's Friends Fire. I mean, even though Whitmore is the class of the field, no doubt. Love this horse. 7 years old, still going. Every time you think this horse is done, he's not, and he just keeps coming back for more. But it just seems like he's kind of going to be up against it a little bit here with this kind of speed in the race.
I remember when when he won the Aristides, I don't think the second place horse had crossed yet, and Aaron texted about how this was going to be the next Mitole. Aaron had already seen this horse's previous win, and seeing him step up to stakes competition. It wasn't graded and it wasn't as deep as this field, but the way he ran and the fact that he didn't even change his stupid lead until the 16th pole and did as well as he did told me that. And then Aaron's confidence. Right, the classic Mike Samich line, know when you're not the smartest person in the room. And when Aaron's saying this is the next Mitole, I'm going, all right, well, that's probably the next damn Mitole then. So I don't know. I think he's got a world of potential here. And 6 Furlong seems to hit him right between the nose. This will be great. If I had to go with an upset, I'd go with Mind Control because I loved him going into his last race. And Velasquez said afterwards, he just there was something about the slop at Belmont. He just couldn't get through and was spinning his wheels. And the fact that they don't take any class drop and they come right back here for a grade 1 sprint at 6 furlongs. If I was looking for that, a horse that fights his eyeballs out every time, like Mind Control, would probably be my pick. But I don't know. I don't see anybody being volatile here.
Hey, Magic, you were a Chancelot guy. Didn't last year when Mind Control won the Jerkins, didn't Chancelot, wasn't he coming into that race off a huge performance and kind of
in the Amsterdam?
Yeah, he did the Amsterdam.
And I couldn't remember what performance it was, but I remember it being a big one. And obviously, horse finishes third. The horse. Don't get me wrong. I mean, the horse came back to great horse. Went nose to nose with Mitole in the Breeders' Cup. But it kind of goes to show you a horse that looked so good on paper gets beat by Mind Control. Can Mind Control do it again?
Well, there's a difference there, too. Who was training Chancelot and who's behind bars because they trained Chancelot illegally?
And Chancelot kind of came from nowhere.
Right.
We kind of know why. But, I mean, versus Volatile, which has been a horse that's obviously was a big purchase, has the right connections, has the right train. You go on and on. So, yeah, I mean, but the point is, a horse that kind of seemingly comes into the race unbeatable, that has plenty of speed, and then all of a sudden, gets upset by a horse like Mind Control. That's 2 for 2 at Saratoga, 2 for 2 at the distance. That kind of horse where you're just like, son of a bitch. That horse is perfect on paper, and I still went against him because I got sucked into number 4, Volatile.
Yeah, well, one of the things that we were just as you were bringing up Chancelot, I was about to do the same thing, and just to further your point. Does anyone remember who finished behind Chancelot? Now, granted, it was a long distance behind Chancelot in that Amsterdam. It was Nitrous.
Yeah.
Who was Nitrous? Ricardo Santana and Steve. I don't think Steve's going to take similar type of Volatile. I'll make the Volatile Chancelot comparison in terms of the hype. Now, granted, the races were different. I'm just saying I think Steve's really going to – I don't know if Steve would bring Volatile here. knowing what he saw with Chancelot and that boom performance. Again, similar, different circumstances around it, but I think he saw what Chancelot was in that spot. Literally on July 28th, I'm looking at the chart, and now has Volatile. And I think, we know Steve what type of speed trainer he is. I think you'd really be hard pressed to find another horse. This is just, I don't think this is a spot where you do it. I think you're looking for a cold exacta, and I'm with Magic. Mind Control would be my second horse if I was forced.
He loves a fight.
Yeah, and that's one of the things. I mean, again, Chancelot won by over 12. If we think Volatile is what he's going to be after this race, and we'll have this opinion, the second place horse could be 8, 9, 10 back, potentially. Probably not, but maybe. At that point, it really could be up in the air, because we won't be looking at this race as someone just finished second. It would be a well-distanced second. And Magic, to your point, I think Mind Control always tries, right? So at least you know what you're going to get from Mind Control. He's not going to give up, and I think that's important.
Are you guys surprised at all that that he chose to run him here versus the Jerkins next week, or do you think it was basically like, we know that this horse is a 6 furlong sprinter, and that's where we're sticking?
I think
the Jerkins
I think he pulled a Mike Somich, because I don't think
the Jerkins is
it feels like he's a 3-year-old though, because he came out. I've had this mistake multiple times with him.
It does feel like he's a 3-year-old because he's so unknown, but he did debut as a 3-year-old. I think, what was it, like
July?
Yeah, July. He didn't wait. Yeah, he waited till July to debut. So, Mike Somich, this one's for you.
But even debuted in July and then was off until September. So he kind of had that kind of later forming, cycle. Obviously, only has that one blemish on his record, but
So
this is a non-bet for me. I just hope the Volatile runs off the screen, and I sit back as a fan, and it was a single for me in my now 1 for 3 pick 5. I've lost 2 in a row legs now. I needed to talk to Jared before I put that pick 5 in. I'd be alive.
I totally would have missed it if you were. I'd been like, just go the favorite. That's all I care about. No,
well, I singled Don Juan Kitten. I went 5 deep in the next 2 legs, and that was the 2 legs that I missed.
Oh, that's gross. Oh.
So this will be the setup, and tell me if you guys disagree. Assuming Volatile runs his race, and I don't want to look ahead, he's probably looking towards the 4-go after this, and I think timing wise, this just kind of makes sense. I don't know. I'm looking right now at the date. I think it's towards the end of the meet, though. Again, I don't know the exact date, but I think
August 29th is the 4-go. Yeah.
Okay, right. So the timing wise, it would be exactly what Steve and the connections would want. So, and I think that's, Jared, am I wrong? I think that's 7 furlongs.
7 furlongs, yeah.
Okay,
this one is actually 4 and up, so he can actually run in that one. So.
Right, exactly, and that's what I'm saying. So I think timing-wise, if we as horse racing fans and horse players and whatever always try to map out schedules, and I just think that it would be a logical progression to move to the 4-go next time out, assuming Volatile runs his race and is healthy and clean and all that when he gets out.
Yeah, it definitely feels like that would be the next stop, and then of course that's end of August, and you've got at least one more race probably that he'll get prior to the Breeders' Cup.
He looks like a freaking monster on this track right now.
Mm-hmm.
Like he's on. I don't know where you guys are at on the feed, but Volatile looks like an absolute monster.
Yeah, well, I'm seeing Whitmore now.
Whitmore's standing there trying to figure out how he's going to beat him.
Okay.
Yeah.
Whitmore, he's not ever going to. Whitmore's never going to win the looks department. He's just a runner. He's just a stone cold runner.
Yeah. He doesn't flash you. He doesn't, when you see him in the paddock or on the track, it doesn't scare you whatsoever. But he's got, and that's the thing about Whitmore. He's got $3 million to prove it, and it's not like he runs in these crazy kind of astronomical races that we're used to seeing these days. I mean, no, he's a dead sprinter, and he has ran obviously, in some derby type preps when he was a 3-year-old, but It's funny because he's really earned it the hard way, as far as making that kind of money. And I can't tell you how many times, whether it be from connections that we know, or just the eye test where you're like, he's done, he's done. And I'm talking like, it's like once a year you hear it. And yet here he is, as a 7-year-old running in a grade 1 in the summer at Saratoga. So he just keeps coming back for more. And how can you not? I mean, he's such a true horse and really rarely gives you a dull effort. And so it's, he fits here. It's one of those things. We just had someone, it's 4-1 a gift. And it's like, it's one of those things like if he wins, then it's a gift. It's like he's up against a monster. You're going to go back. If he wins this race, you're going to say, how did we ever give, how did this horse go off at 7-2 or whatever? But whenever Volta goes and blazes by the length of the stretch, then you're like, oh, that's why.
Well, sorry.
No, go ahead.
I just wanted to real quick. And we talked about, there was no sports, only Oaklawn and Gulfstream for a while. We talked about what type of races Oaklawn was. That the only thing, and I'm just playing devil's advocate. What type of races did Whitmore run? So he was one of the few that consistently ran. A lot of horses had time off, and obviously at this point, got to start at Belmont, got to start at Churchill Downs, whatever the situation is. Whitmore continued to run on a consistent pattern and then got the layoff. So he was kind of one of the few that kind of went the other way. Most horses had the layoff and went. Is it concerning to anyone that he hasn't run since the middle of April off a layoff? I'm, again, just playing devil's advocate, just trying to draw up a storyline here, but I don't know. So I don't know if 7-2 is a gift. That might be still a touch low for me because I'll just back magic again. If I can get 8-1 on mind control, I'll surely take that over 7-2 over Whitmore, just because I don't know what type of races Whitmore really ran. If we look at those actual races, even though they were the only things going, I just don't know what type of competition he faced. So does anyone feel the same way or want to bounce back? I'm just interested.
Well, let the king of Oaklawn talk there, Halterman. You know better than anyone.
I thought he faced a very, very tough Count Fleet Stakes when it happened. And now 3 months after the race, I don't think it was that tough because horses didn't come back and run very well out of it. In the same way with the Apple Blossom was on the same day. I thought that was a hell of a race, and then nobody's come back to run very well out of it. So I think you got to take it, as Ricky is saying, maybe he didn't face the best horses in those races. He didn't face a horse like Volatile. So
Whitmore didn't even want to go in the gate. Whitmore was spending all that time beforehand staring at the gate going, I don't think I can beat him. Whitmore, go in the gate. I can't beat him. Don't make me do it.
Yeah. You see this monster? He looks like a beast. I can't beat him.
Whitmore is not afraid of that horse. I guarantee you that. He's not afraid of him. He's a mean bastard, Whitmore.
Yeah, he is. All right, they are getting ready to go here.
Whoa.
I was talking about the mean bastard.
Trying to get a head
ready to go. Shit.
What just happened?
I'll take 3-1 if he's going to have this head start.
Did the gate break open, or is that the only gate that opened? Because I saw a starter do this.
He pushed through.
Yeah.
Wow.
So at Saratoga, some of the starters will raise their hand as an indication that they're ready. So every track and their starters are different. Saratoga's, the Naira circuit's weird. Some of the starters will raise their hand as an indication to say their horse and their position, they're ready to go. So everyone gets an even start. And I think that was just so evident. And so Saratoga's weird. And Whitmore was 7-2 when we talked, 3-1 at the gate. And now 7-2 again. I would be shocked if a lot of people didn't withdraw their win bets and float up a little
funny
higher.
it's like in drag racing how they the cars will they'll get their tires hot and stuff and take off and go through and then they'll back up. That's all. Whitmore's just he's just getting ready. That was just a quick test run.
I was gonna say what a pro that horse is. He knew it wasn't race time. He stopped himself.
You talk about for any of you new guys, you want to know the difference between horses that are grade 1 stakes kind of level horses versus claiming race or whatever claiming horses. A claiming horse they'd be still trying to catch.
Yep.
Whitmore stopped on his own and they came back and look, he's maybe gonna try. They're gonna load him here. It looks like so. Yep. We got a little bit of time here. Looks like they're gonna unload them all. But Whitmore is gonna run, right? I mean that's the plan. So it does tell you that
Back to what JD? Oh, they're scratching the 1.
Yeah, they just scratched Lexingtonian. I saw the jockey off earlier. I think he got. I think he nicked himself when Whitmore broke. I think he hurt himself.
Okay.
Back to what JD was saying about value on Whitmore. I think value in any race on any horse is all relative to your opinion. If you don't like a horse, what's it get? You know what I mean? If I don't like a horse and the horse goes off at 15-1 and wins, 15-1 still doesn't warrant my bet just because, I don't like the horse. Whereas, someone like Volatile, even money is not a, sexy, appealing price. But if for some reason Volatile was sitting there at even money, I'd probably fire, a bet there. So, because I would think that would be value. I think it's all relative on your opinion. If JD's sitting there thinking that Whitmore's his top pick, I would say 3-1 or higher is value. But for me, Whitmore's not even my third, I would say probably my third pick. So, I don't think you're going to give me a price where I'm going to feel like it's value. And again, once they hit the wire, hindsight's 2020. So we can say red board value all we want, but
that's really,
before the race 4-1, I still wouldn't bet it.
That's really well said. I mean, we've Halterman and I have preached that for years and years, that that values are how you perceive it. And I can't tell you how many times Halterman and I have pounded a horse at even money or 6-5 because we're like, hey, that horse is not going to lose, and I don't care that the price is 6-5. If it's a lock, that's free money.
'Tis the law in the Belmont.
Yeah,
that's
absolutely.
the best example of you guys doing that recently.
Yep, absolutely.
Yep.
Yeah, you watch other shows, or you watch people, and not everybody, but a lot of people on those like that. It's a Belmont. We got to try to make $1 billion, and you bet stupid horses, and it's just like, just bet the damn horse. He should be 1-5, and he's even money. That's more value. And what Sean just said. Okay, a horse is 15-1. Big deal. If you don't like him, who cares? He should be 15-1. Maybe he should be 50-1. So I totally agree with that. All right, we're reloading again here, guys. Come on, let's behave.
Right, take 2 there, Whitmore.
You're still getting 2-5. I know he was 30 or Lexingtonian was 30-1, but I'm surprised more people haven't.
I think you're gonna go. I think it's gonna click down to 1-5. I mean, someone people on Whitmore have to be a little concerned when he breaks through the gate, right? I mean,
yeah, I think right.
Well, Mind Control took money too, and I think that it's a combination of Lexingtonian and drawing out. There's a little money to be spread around there, but I think a lot of people are canceling their win bets on Whitmore, even though the odds haven't changed. Mind Control went from 8-1 to 5-1.
Yeah.
So Volatile's just going to try to go gate to wire here. It looks like so. No surprise. The classiest or the speediest horse of the race is going to try to go gate to wire.
And a 4-horse
Mind Control closer than anyone else thinks.
Yeah,
I thought Mind Control would be a little bit further back.
Yeah, there's no pace pressure. That's a really smart move from Velasquez.
And I think this sets up even better for Volatile. He does 23 and 4.6. I mean, it's in such a small field.
6 furlong race.
in such a small field, there's no reason to go.
He went almost 21 flat in his last race.
I mean, if he loses this, stick a fork.
I think you need to open up here, though.
Well, is he going to kick in today, boys?
Yeah, so now
there he goes.
Oh, here we go.
Did you see that lead change? That instant lead change and gone.
Whitmore is running his heart out, and he cannot get to it.
Ooh, the kickback. He did not like that kickback, though.
That was, 4, 2, 5, you know what, guys? That was super impressive, and that was almost exactly like when we talked about this on the podcast, Halterman. This is exactly like when Whitmore faced Mitoli in the Count Fleet in another very small field, where he asked him to do something maybe a little bit something he doesn't want to do, which is be closer. Yep. Whitmore ran huge. He ran super well, but you can't match up to that, especially in a small field.
Yeah, that horse is got to be one of the most underappreciated horses ever. He is the epitome of a racehorse. Whitmore tries his balls off every single time. He's chasing a horse he has no business chasing. And he tries and he tries, and he ran all the way to the wire, and he just couldn't beat that monster today. Really good performance from Volatile. listen, he had everything his own way, right? I mean, I'm not going to say that's Matoli after that race, but listen, anytime you win a grade 1 at Saratoga and you do it and it's never really in doubt, pretty good.
One thing I'll say about the trip on Volatile that I absolutely do not like is when you're going 6 furlongs and you walk it out front like that, you've invited all the closers so much closer that have that big kick, and then you're expecting a pace setter to kick on, faster than, some of these closers that have proven to kick on. I'd rather have that 1 to 2 to even a 3-length lead to be able to just kind of frustrate those closers and say, hey, I'm faster than you and you're not coming to get me. When you invite them into the turn like that, I really do not like that ride. And it worked out because, the horse is super impressive. But I do not like that strategy when you're lone speed like that.
Yeah, it's a Mike Smith trick that I've learned from watching him, Sean, that you're talking about, where if he's on a pace setter, he'll let out a notch going into the turn, and he kind of watches to see, did anybody come with me? And then he'll let out a notch, and then he lets out a notch. And so by the top of the turn, you're trying to break the closers' hearts. Like, they're not gaining on you in the turn, and they're like, wait, now I have to go this whole stretch? So
yeah,
that's okay. I mean, he beat a strong field. It was only a 4-horse field and there was no pace, but he did what he needed to do. And watching the stretch run replay, Ricardo didn't really hit him that much. It's too hot for me to be wearing my sweatshirt, but he really wasn't hitting him. So I thought that was good.
You made a good point during the race. Even though he's light enough race to be a 3-year-old, let's just say that. But for being so lightly raced, just a quick show of the stick, and this horse changed his leads perfectly.
Yes.
For such a lightly raced horse, and obviously his first attempt in a graded stakes race, passed all the tests, passed the visual test, passed everything really, and beat a very, very, like we've established, very, very classy horses. The 3 horses he beat, very classy horses, and all 3 of them really ran. Considering a small field, they all were right there. It's just he's just better. So. Let's move on. The stakes continue. The stakes competition will get deeper and harder as they, that's what she said, as they continue to go down the summer stretch into the Breeders' Cup. But let's talk about some horses that you guys would fear, right? Who could beat this horse?
Vekoma. Well, it depends. Are we going 6 furlongs or are we going longer?
Well, let's stay with. I think it's probably for sure, right, that Volatile is going to be a Breeders' Cup sprint type player. I think that's where they're going to. It seems like that's where the focus would be. So let's talk about sprinters.
Sorry, Magic. I was just going to say, if I'm Vekoma, I've proved that I can go longer. I don't understand why you'd cut back. Now, granted, I think Vekoma is a better sprinter than distance. And sorry, Magic, I didn't want to take your horse away, but if you obviously we know that the money and everything and all that good stuff is the longer you go. I don't see why, if you're Vekoma or you're the connections, why you cut back. I just don't know.
Because when he won the Matt Mile, it was a 1 turn. He's better at 1 turn than 2. And the dirt mile is going to be 2 turns at Keeneland. That's why you go sprint with Vekoma. No,
I understand that, but how do you not continue this momentum? How do you make the case that, now granted it's a 1 turn mile and that point is valid, and I agree, but how do you make the point, or how do we make the logical connection that we're going to now cut back? I just don't know the way that Vekoma's looks this year. I want to continue that, but I do think Vekoma would be a better sprinter than Volatile. I just don't know in terms of if I'm making the best case scenario. I've seen what Vekoma's can do, even though it is a 1 turn mile. But if he is going to cut back, then I think Vekoma is still a better sprinter than Volatile.
I would take Volatile. I'm looking at Aaron's divisional rankings, and I'd be real curious to hear from him if he's going to move Volatile up over Vekoma, because he's got Vekoma 1, Volatile 2, and Whitmore 3. I really don't see those things changing, but leading up to the sprint, I think depending on who else goes in there with him, I don't know. I don't know if I'd take anyone over Volatile right now. It'd be curious to see what kind of speed, and we haven't seen Chancelot come back yet for Steve Asmussen, so couple hurdles across. But Aaron, what are you doing with your divisional rankings after this?
Well, he left. So
he did. Oh, my bad.
He's gone. I think he's moving, so I think he probably stuck around for as long as he could, for at least as long as his wife would allow him. But I'm sure he's got to get back to it. So yeah, as the other racing dude, I'm gonna go ahead and chime in here and say I think knowing him as well as I know, and I think Volto moves forward off of that. Obviously,
he's back.
Let's see if I was right. Does Volatile move over Vekoma?
No, I'll keep Vekoma first. The class and the 2 races that he's won,
they're both Breeders' Cup winning year-end races.
Yeah, I mean, do I think Volatile can beat Vekoma? Maybe, but I'm keep Vekoma number 1 as far as the sprinter goes. Vekoma, man, hard to knock anything he's done this year. So I'll keep him there. But it's gonna be interesting. That's a hell of a category right now, the sprint. It's gonna be tough.
So
for me, it honestly is. I keep saying it on the podcast, and I'll keep saying it. I'm so sick of the 3-year-old class. Give me these olders. This older group of horses is just really becoming really fun to watch. I was super excited for this weekend for that fact. Obviously the sprint division, the classic division is turning out to be something special, which we'll talk about in a little bit with Maximum Security. But yeah, I'm really excited about this bunch.
Yeah, it's going to be good. Go ahead, Ricky. You want to say something?
No, I wanted to, just because we're out for a minute or two. My question was, and before I unfortunately cut Magic off, he brought up Vekoma, and then I said, I don't know if you'd even cut Vekoma back just because of the even to your point when you came back, the momentum that he's on this year. And then Magic brought up the 1-turn mile at Belmont, which is completely valid as well. If you're the connections, which way would you be leaning, or would you want to go back sprint to the Forgo? Are you looking at something else, or do you want to try a 1 1/8 miles at Saratoga, which is 2 turns, obviously? Which if you just had to pick right now off the top of your head, my opinion would be to try to find another 1 mile Magic said cut back, and I think you're 50-50 either way. It's a really tough decision. I'm just curious to know where you would fall, how you would decide.
Come on. I'm going Forgo for sure. If I'm Vekoma, I'm definitely going Forgo. And then the problem, he is a problem because he's really not looking at Magic. Did you get a wheel? Let's look at him. Who won?
Because I learned my lesson at Del Mar. 6 horse.
Secret Keeper.
Nice. Okay.
Yep.
6 furlongs is too short for Vekoma. The mile is such a dumbass Breeders' Cup race, the dirt mile. He can't win at 1.25 miles. He's a tweener. That's kind of where it comes. I think he'll go to the sprint because it's more prestigious.
Yeah, and that was Magic's point. And again, I don't think I think when you really get to the 1-turn mile, that's probably his max. And how many 1-turn miles are you going to find out there? That's a question. Yeah. And B, obviously Saratoga, there's no 1-turn mile. You have to go to 1.8 miles, which is going to be an ask. Now you're going 9 furlongs. I was just curious. Again, I would try to find 8 furlongs or better, but you're right. In terms of the Forgo, it seems to hit him square in the face in terms of what his next move would be. Because even Jared said, he thought Volatile, in your rankings would go up. So I was kind of surprised too that you would keep Vekoma number 1 if you had to pick right now.
I mean, that mile and to win the Carter it's just more than what Volatile's done. But listen, hey, what if Volatile goes to the Forgo to face Vekoma? Then we'll find it out, right? Yeah. A lot of times at Saratoga we find out who wins the divisions in those races up there. So it can happen.
I think to me it's like, Halterman's more of a, what have they done? And I kind of tend, it's easier for me because I'm not the one putting the rankings up there, but it's easier for me to say, because it's like what kind of the upside. And I feel, Volatile is probably still, it seems like we're just still, scratching the surface of what he is, versus, well, I guess we don't really know what Vekoma is really turned into a monster of a horse this year. I would love to see those two match up prior to the Breeders' Cup, because then, like you say, we'd get an idea of, who's best.
No, it would really be something to see. We've got a lot going on, in that division. There's other horses in there that are really good too. So, I mean, Chancelot, what will he come back as? He's out of the same barn as Volatile, because the Asmussen has Chancelot now. So,
Yeah.
Oh, by the way, congratulations, Steve Asmussen, on winning a Grade 1 in New York. I know he only does like that 6 times a year.
I was waiting for that. You ever notice Samich only skips out on these if Asmussen's about to win a Grade 1 race? Have you noticed a pattern?
Yeah, right.
Live streams.
Yeah.
Samich is like, I'm doubtful, guys. I don't know. 5 horses, Volatile looks good, guys. I'm out.
Yeah, I can only imagine. I don't need to listen to Magic Mike's show, because I'm going to imagine he's going to say, well, he only beat 3 other horses.
There was no speed. There was no other speed. Nobody's headed him. There's the Magic Mike show right there.
Yeah.
Samich texted me and said, if Volatile loses, I'm coming on.
There's no surprise there.
I'm just kidding.
I don't believe that he did. Did he actually text you that?
No.
That sounds about right. But all right, hey, let's switch over, because we are kind of in the last 30 minutes of this Racing Dudes Live. Let's switch over to Maxim Security, obviously running later in the card at Del Mar. We'll obviously talk about the 11th to close out the Saratoga card as well. But race 10 tonight for us at Del Mar. Maxim Security makes his debut for Bob Baffert. Last seen winning the Saudi Cup, which, by the way, does anybody know? Did they ever get money for that? Did the Connections ever actually get paid for that race?
Supposedly, they're all still holding the money from everybody.
So that's nice. So the horse,
Right, yeah.
$8 million in earnings. So that's probably not right. But it could be a lot. Whatever it is. Horse last time crossed the wire first in the Saudi Cup to Midnight Bizu. Obviously, has come back to run really well this year. So, we talked about the blinkers off. The entire career of Maximum Security, really the only time this horse never finished first, or at least crossed the wire first, was getting beat by King for a Day in the Pegasus, not the Pegasus, but the Pegasus at Monmouth Park after the Kentucky Derby. It's hard. I mean, he seems like a lock, right? But there's so much riding on today's performance, because he goes from either being like a Breeders' Cup Classic top contender to, okay, but Bob Baffert's not going to continue to run him if he's not running, if he doesn't win and doesn't run well. Yeah, so I'll answer first, because I got to get off here right after I answer this, because my whole life has just arrived. Like, we had to. So long story short, we were displaced for a week from a house, so I put all my stuff in like big U boxes, like pods, and they just arrived. So I got to go unpack 4 of them. That's gonna be really fun, by the way, to unpack all that. Yeah, it's 115 degrees outside as well, no exaggeration. So it's gonna be great. And I found the keys to the U-boxes. Yes. So the U-boxes came, and my wife displaced the keys to open them. So that was a panic, but she did just find them. So it's been a hectic 10 minutes around here. But anyway, Maximum Security is going to eat those horses today in the San Diego. Maximum Security by 25. He'll shit all over those horses. Those horses don't have a shot. So have a good day and night, fellas. Have a good rest.
Have fun, buddy.
Oh, that was great. Great.
I'll be there later to help you unpack.
Can I take I'll take 24.5 lengths for second.
I'll take the under.
Yeah, I'll take under 24.5. I'll shoot him a text. It's going to be close to my bedtime though by the time that race goes off. So what is that Magic going to be, like 2:30 on the East Coast, something like that? So I'll send him a text now and say I'll take under 24.5 length, or it's under 25, whatever he wants. No, but I think I'll let Magic go, but I just think Max is going to be real tough to beat in the spot.
I mean, even before Sharp Samurai scratch, I'm a little surprised Combatant scratch, because I didn't think he had a shot in hell here, but he didn't have much of a shot in hell in the Eddie Reed tomorrow, but I thought he at least had a better shot there. But it's not so much that I'm like in love with Maximum Security, because there's a lot of factors against him. That there's also, I haven't heard it really discussed that much, but he's carrying a hell of a lot more weight than any of these other horses. He's carrying 127 pounds, for crying out loud. But who's going to beat him? I mean, when we covered the sequence on Magic Mike show, Samich went with midcourt in one of his in his 50-cent ticket, and it just because if something crazy happens. But I think that's the only horse that's got a logical chance. I think this is way too short for Higher Power, even though he loves Del Mar. I think this is going to be too short for him. And I mean, midcourt can run a race, but Maximum Security, if he's anything like he was with Service, he should beat these horses in his sleep.
Yeah, it kind of feels like, I mean, not to go back on the Baffert thing, but it's like, it kind of feels like Baffert's just like, there's so much pressure on Baffert. Because, I mean, if he goes and, like, win, you know, like, he needs to win with this horse, I guess is the way to say it. And if not, he's not going to run him, you know. And to me, that's the way I feel with him, because it's like, I feel like with Baffert, you just assume this horse is going to continue to do well, if not improve, you know, because if there was ever a knock on Maximum Security, it was who trained him, you know. It's like, oh, but aside from that, I mean, the horse is really good. And so, you know, Halterman made a point on Blinkers Off, which I thought was funny. It was like, you know, I'm sure Baffert really pushed, you know, obviously being trained by or owned by Gary and Mary West. It's like he usually trains those horses, and then considering this horse that debuted in a claiming 16,000, you know, ever since then he's probably been pushing to get this horse in his barn, and here he is, you know, has him in his barn finally. You know, I think, yeah, I just don't think there's any way he loses. He towers over the field, and he's not going to run him unless he's ready to go. Does anyone in this on here actually believe this horse is going to lose tonight or today? Like,
Sean, you've been pretty quiet. Sean, what do you think about this race?
I mean, I'm kind of piggybacking your guys' thoughts. The only other different opinion that I have that kind of goes in line is, I mean, we don't ever see Bob put a horse in that needs a race. He trains them into races. You know what I mean? And if he does, he doesn't put them into, you know, a big race. You know, this wasn't the goal. Obviously, the goal is the Pacific Classic moved into and then into the Breeders' Cup Classic. But if Maximum Security wasn't sitting on go, I don't think we'd be seeing him here today. That's just how Bob runs. You know, I remember when Byron went out to go run in the Haskell. You know, he actually said, "I don't think we're going to send." It's like, you're like lone speed, and he's training well because he doesn't want to ship to lose. And obviously, this isn't shipping, but like he's one of those guys, you know, very similar to, you know, Chad Brown's a little bit different story because he has 4 horses going into one race, but rather than one. But you just don't see horses that aren't ready to go out of the Baffert barn in these big spots. So watching the replays of, you know, his workouts, knowing, you know, the past history on Baffert, especially recently, I just think the horses, you know, I don't think Maximum Security is going to win by 25 lengths, but I don't think it's going to be close.
Well, to your point, Sean, I mean, look at his 2 works. I mean, first of all, Del Mar is much more of a horse for course than Santa Anita, and his first work at Del Mar was a sub-minute 5 furlong work. And then last Saturday, when they were supposed to run this, and Bob was pointing for July 18th, he goes a minute 11 and 3, going 6 furlongs over that course. Like, he was ready last week. And then you don't think that Baffert knows how to keep him pushed, you know, for one more week here to keep it going? I mean, it's going to take something colossal, I think, like a colossal meltdown on his part for him to lose. I don't think anybody else wins this. I think he either wins or loses, and that's the storyline. Hey,
Magic, I want to ask you, because you obviously are very well connected out there, and a lot of people, obviously with Luis Saez being his regular rider, and obviously, you know, with the COVID and obviously staying put, you know, he's not out there at Del Mar. Instead, he picks up a local jockey that, you know, I'll let you kind of go on this, because I think a lot of people are going to say, well, doesn't have Saez, so this is kind of a hit. But, you know, for us that know the game and know this rider, you know, it's anything but, right?
Yeah. And there's a great story where when Bob Baffert knew this is where he was pointing, and he knew Luis Saez wasn't going to be able to come out and ride, he started looking for riders. Abel Cedillo was his first choice, and he reached out to the agent and asked, would Abel be able to ride? And he said, well, Sharp Samurai is pointing here, and Abel is Sharp Samurai's regular rider. And so Abel talked to the connections, and they said, we understand how big of a deal this is. We'll let you off the hook. You can go ride Maximum Security, and then, you know, you can come back on Sharp Samurai next time. And then the fact that those guys were saying, yeah, go ahead. We know he's probably going to be great. This is a huge, responsibility for you. But Baffert said Cedillo was his top choice over Mike Smith, over Drayden Van Dyke, because of how aggressive he is. He said he was looking for the closest match to Luis Saez's riding style, and that's what he thinks he has in Abel Cedillo. Sean and I have talked before about Golden Gate riders and how there was, what Sean, probably like 4 months ago, we were saying, man, if Juan Hernandez could just come down from Golden Gate on Southern California circuit, he's a lot like Abel Cedillo. And Hernandez is riding his ass off right now. Cedillo snuck in under the wire last summer. And for a while, I was getting nice price points on him. So Cedillo is an extremely well-respected rider. Locally, I don't know because I'm so close to the fire. I don't know nationally how much that tracks yet, but I would expect that you're not going to see really much of a drop off. And Cedillo also said he called Saez to get tips about riding maximum security. So I really think the rider should be zero issue here.
Well, I know. I mean, that's why I wanted to bring it up, because I know for me and for us, you see that change, and a lot of times we know the circumstances. We obviously know Cedillo, like what he is, and we, the fact that I knew that Baffert, that was his first choice. So you would think getting the mount on maximum security in the Pacific or in San Diego would do a lot, and it might even get him in the Pacific Classic too. So that's the other thing. And so there's two mounts there, two very important mounts that could put his name kind of in more of a national light in terms of getting, especially if he goes out and rides really well, and kind of like a Luis Saez type ride where you're like you don't even know the difference. So yeah, I definitely think moving forward he could be kind of more of a nationally known name, because we do know his name obviously, and you definitely do being on the West Coast circuit. But real quickly though, I want to so say he went, he should win today. There's no surprise. Say he wins the Pacific Classic, because he probably should win that too, because I don't know who necessarily would challenge him too much, different here. So, we have next weekend is fire with the Whitney and Tom's Dietot. And of course you've got Code of Honor in that race as well. Two very top choice contenders for the Classic as well. But all that aside, say Maximum Security wins today, wins the Pacific Classic. No matter what happens with Code, no matter what happens with Tom, and no matter what happens with Midnight, if they choose to run her in the Classic, Maximum Security will be your favorite for the Classic, which is pretty amazing considering. This is a horse that seems like controversy follows this horse wherever he goes.
Well, you might even get more controversy because, like you said, if he wins today, wins the Pacific Classic, I bet you Saez doesn't get the mount in the Classic, in the Breeders' Cup Classic. I'd say he just rides Cedillo because he won't be here for the Pacific Classic. He'll be stuck in New York. So Cedillo gets the mount again, and now you take Cedillo off after winning these two. I don't think Saez gets the mount again.
Plus Cedillo is working him, right? Cedillo is out here occasionally working. And Bob's got his own exercise riders, but Cedillo is going to be, especially if he wins here, I'd expect him to train him at least once and keep that momentum going. And when Bob finds a rider that matches, man, he doesn't budge off of him.
Real quick, Magic, this is for you because you're the, at least for me, more of the West Coast. How much would Bob and Sean, and anyone who wants to chime in, honestly, or Jared even, how big of a story would it be for the horse racing community to say, for Bob Baffert to say, I'm going to go back to Luis Saez, who couldn't ride, not because of his own doing. I'm not saying he has to go. I'm not saying he's going to not do it or he's going to go to do. I'm just, how much do you think in his mind that says, Luis Saez really deserves to be on, assuming everything like Jared just said, Matt, matches up. He's healthy. He wins.
It could happen.
X, Y, and Z. No, yeah, I just want, because this, obviously we're in weird times, and Luis Saez would give up his 2 weeks to ride Max. Whatever he had to do, he would get out. He would find, if he had to hitchhike, he'd find his way out there. So my point is, Luis Saez, to me, just like you brought up, and the story you brought up, they are really similar riders. They're extremely aggressive, and they will put their horse in the right position no matter what. Obviously, if Max is good enough, I don't think it really matters between the two. Ultimately, as you pointed out, I just wouldn't be surprised. I don't know how quick he would go back to Abel Cedillo if Luis Saez could ride, or just to throw it, because Luis Saez, this is his ride. Let's be real. I don't care. We don't care what Abel has done. This has always been Luis Saez. I just want.
Bob is very particular, and Magic kind of touched on this earlier. Bob's very particular. If you give him the time to exercise his horses in the mornings, you get the mounts in the afternoon. That was the big gripe with Martin Garcia and why they butted heads, was he was exercising everything, and then all of a sudden Mike Smith and Drayden were getting the mounts. So that's why they kind of had that falling out. But Bob's very loyal to the guys that ride for him in the morning. I'm not saying that wouldn't happen, but I think that call would come from the West,
Right,
to go to Luis Saez.
Yeah, and I was just going to bring up the fact that, I'm happy, Sean, you brought that up, because if the West step in and say, look, Luis Saez is our guy. Now, granted, I'm Max. Now, granted, we couldn't have Luis for these few months or whatever the situation is because of the times we're in. I wouldn't be surprised. And again, you guys would know better. You're on the West Coast. If they stepped in and said, Bob, we want Luis. Can we get him? Yes or no? Due to whatever medical restrictions are going on, hopefully at the, couple months from now, things are different. I was just curious to know what you guys thought. If his riders ride so regularly in the morning and then it transitions to the afternoon, then that definitely gives Abel Cedillo probably the upper hand, especially because Bob has more than any right to say what he thinks. And obviously, but I was just curious to know if Luis really had a chance to get back on this horse, assuming maximum security does what he's supposed to do this summer.
Let's finalize the thoughts on the San Diego and Del Mar. We're getting close here to the final at Saratoga. 2 minutes to post here with let's see, who is the favorite in this race, coming 5-2 on Timeless Journey for the Clement Barn. Rosario getting them out for the first time. What did you guys think of this race before they go 1 minute?
Real quick, I'm 7-10. We got 1 minute. I'll be real short. I got 7-10 on top of 4 or 5
shorter
than
that.
Am I up?
Sure,
yeah. I'm gonna go to 6 just for blinkers. Gonna get blinkers on. Todd Pletcher off the layoff. He's had his chances, which is slightly concerning, but he's gonna get Jose Ortiz for the first time. I think at 7-2, it's a nice price. I didn't love anyone. I do like the 5 and 10. I like the 5 and 10 as well, but I'll put the 6 on top.
I'll take the 5. Why not? I think that Clement second off, second career start. Rosario dropping from the maiden special weight ranks. Why not?
Yeah, I'm with Ricky here. I landed on the 6. I think I like the 5 and the 6. I just like the fact that with the Pletcher here, you get first time turf, and you get it obviously going from a maiden special weight to a maiden claiming. I think Pletcher's really high percentage at that, and then you obviously switch over to Jose. So to me, it looks like they're switching the turf, trying to get a win, and maybe even trying to get rid of it. So seems like that's a horse that I don't know. I think the 5 with Rosario first time aboard, I like that too. So.
Yeah, just to talk on the 5. It's kind of funny, I watch Fox Sports 1 consistently, or Fox Sports 2, and Sterling's on and Jonathan Kincher, whatever. But even Andy Sterling said at some point Clement's going to go. He's not going to keep winning races at 40% because he would be setting records. I don't know if this is the race where it stops, but it's just a trend I think that horse players need to pay attention to. At some point, his stock will not evaporate. That's not going to happen. But they'll start to get overbet, and I think it's one of those
to the mean. Yeah,
exactly. And he's a fantastic trainer. Especially on the turf, one of the best. But at some point, right? I mean, Chad Brown doesn't win at 40%. I think we'd all agree if we're going to just go turfs, I'd still probably take Chad Brown. Even when we had the Aidan O'Brien versus Chad Brown conversation, it was an honor just to be in that conversation. But I think at some point, right, he's going to regress to the mean, Magic, as you said it perfectly. It's just something to keep an eye on. I don't know if it's this week, next week, whenever, but just to keep that thought in mind.
All right. So Bunch trying to go for the lead. Let's see, number 7, and who's that on the inside? The 4?
There was no speed. There's really no speed.
1-4-7 up front.
Yeah.
The one's paying out the jackpot in the pick 6, I believe, is what I saw.
Ooh, let's root for that then. I always like to see someone take home a jackpot.
You'd be hard. I don't know the last time Bruce Brown. I haven't seen a Bruce Brown winner in a long time. So I'll root for the 1 too at 80-1.
80-1 right now.
If you did throw any money on Dylan Davis and Bruce Brown, at least you can say right now you were leading halfway through the race.
Yeah, stop the race.
Yeah.
Yeah, just start screaming wire, 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 wire.
You know what? At 49 and 2.7, I mean, at 80-1, you're already getting value. We don't think it's going to hold up, but at least you gave yourself a chance. Moving well.
Like Samich says, I just want the horse that's in the lead at the top of the stretch.
I want him at the wire.
6, 5. You know, he's been 5 been sitting pretty chilly. Rosario is the 6 gonna have to make a big run here on the outside. And I don't know, the 4 is still coming on with this. Here comes the 6, though. We'll see how this is gonna finish. And there's a 5 that stuck right up the rail. Look at this ride. Rosario with just, you know, one of those trips that you would just love to have every race. He goes up the rail, sneaks outside. That was too easy, really. I mean, that was the dream trip. So Rosario, the 5 horse, gets home at 3-1.
Boom. Easy game, fellas. Easy game.
Imagine you didn't even look at the race and just said,
No, I'm actually watching Del Mar 4 minutes to post. I'm glad you said something because I had no idea what was happening.
Well, I mean, forget about Clement's numbers right now, which are fantastic. He's also winning at 43% when he makes the switch when the horses are in for a tag in the last 365. So, I mean, I think on paper, you know, I think the 6 was a tad better, but right now, any Clement runner is a must use in any situation, especially on the turf. I mean, everything he touches is perfect right now. So, the dip will come, but maybe probably not tomorrow. The way his runner, not the way his runners are looking. So.
Yeah, it will definitely be interesting to see because, as you know, obviously, you know, like you say, it can't stay at this rate, and so obviously you would have to, you know, when you kind of have to, as a handicapper, you have to see that and see when they start to kind of not run and obviously regress to the mean. Like Magic said, you got to take note of that and say just because he is hitting, you know, when you look at those percentages, which is a big angle for a lot of people, is you know, look at percentage, say what they're hitting, and we say, well, hang on, that you know, they obviously are going to regress from that. They're not going to stay at 40% or whatever it is. All right, final thoughts as we close this sucker out. Maximum Security, I think we're all in Maximum Security camp as far as winning later on the card here at Del Mar. Did you guys have any thoughts? You know, we handicapped the San Clemente on blinkers off, and that obviously was one of the tougher stakes races to handicap when you know, the rest. Yeah, surely you're not. Don't do it, Magic. Come on. Magic, what are your thoughts on the San Clemente?
Only bet Lazy Daisy if you have partial ownership in her. that's what I say. She was the last one on my ticket, but this is a good race. This is a really deep race, and it's especially for a California race where almost every single one of these fillies is based out here all the time. I'm like, where has this been all year? Because this is a fantastic race. You guys talked on blinkers off about you know, you liked Warren Showtime, you liked Laura's Light. But there's a horse in here that I think could really bring a good price. Even if you were, you know, wanting to play across the board, I think she's going to have a lot of value. And that's the 11 Applecross. She's 12-1 on the morning line. You're getting Richard Baltus, who we saw him already train Vertical Threat to win a stakes race earlier today. Baltus tends to do very well at Del Mar. So does Drayden Van Dyke, who's going to be riding. And I think that there's going to be a lot of money going on Laura's Light and Warren Showtime. I think you're going to see them dip even below 3-1, 7-2. And even if she doesn't get there at the wire, because she's going to be coming running late, Applecross at 12-1 presents a tremendous amount of value. I really don't like Cheermeister. I think that there's too much speed in here. And I think especially seeing how Gulfstream Park's turf has come back, hasn't done very well at New York. I don't trust that she's going to do very well here. I think it's interesting that she shows up here and not in New York, looking for a little bit of a softer spot. And then she's so special on the rail. I talked about this on the Magic Mike show, but she is aiming for a Kentucky Downs turf sprint at 6.5 furlongs. She was originally entered in the Daisy Cutter Handicap, which is 5 furlongs, and it was at Del Mar yesterday. And Peter Miller said that to prep her for the Kentucky Downs race, he'd rather that she go 2 turns and 8 furlongs rather than 5, because at the moment, he didn't feel she could go beyond 6 furlongs. So he wanted her to get that mile distance into her, build up a little stamina and cut her back. So I definitely going to take a hard shot against her, which is going to be real funny if she wins. Because I make it sound like she's got no shot.
Which for most of those, for people that don't know, I mean, Kentucky Downs, the turf course is such a weird turf course, and it plays longer than any turf course just because you have the undulations and the hills and the ups and downs, and so a 6 furlong race at Kentucky Downs is not a typical 6 furlong race, so that does make a lot of sense. Magic, I actually, you mentioned Applecross. That was a horse I was between Applecross and my top pick was Laura's Light, just because of they both. I don't know. Applecross to me has a lot of upside. You can tell, obviously. They thought so last year, and ran an okay. I just couldn't get Alms won that race that day. Laura's Light finished second that day, and I just couldn't get there enough to say. But I do think underneath at a price coming in to round out a try or something. I liked her. I liked Laura's Light. I liked the 4 over Attractive. That was Halterman's top pick, and I liked the 5 horse as well. Those were kind of my top 4 there.
Well, and when we were doing this show for Magic Mike, we talked at the onset. We were both singling up Maximum Security, and we said we're trying to find as much possible value as we can. So adding a horse at 12-1, she's not my top choice. But if you're looking for value in a pick 4, pick 3, you have to take a shot with one of these horses, because if you just go chalk with Maximum Security winning, you're barely going to get your money back. So,
Sean, who did you like in that one?
My top pick was the 5 Krokovo. I thought the same thing. I thought there was speed, going to get kind of a similar trip in that last start, and should come rolling. And I'll see your 12-1, and I'll raise you 15-1. My price play in that one was the 7 Little Bird. Kind of similar. I think we're going to get speed to close into. And I don't know, Magic. I don't know if you like the jockey that's riding this kid, Ruben Fuentes.
Yeah. Sean and I are co-chairs of the Ruben Fuentes fan club out here. We love us some Ruben Fuentes, and he rides really well for Baltus. And by the way, that's the same trainer of Applecross. So you're getting some good value there.
When I got a text from Richard earlier, says he likes Little Bird better. So.
Oh, shut up!
I'm kidding.
You and your damn text. Sean, so the race that's happening at Del Mar right now is 1 3/8, so 3 turns there. There's a horse entered. Sean, did you notice it is a hurdler? She was a hurdler over in Europe, and then so she came over here.
I did not notice that.
I'm having fun watching this race because I want to see if she tries to hurdle the rail at all.
What horse is it?
I want to say it was the 8 horse, right?
Yeah,
the 8 that's climbing up, about to go to the lead.
I mean, well, the 8 had 2 starts here in the U.S. It's not the first hurdle race. I mean, but the 8 looked strong.
Come on, 5. Don't let this 8 win.
And here comes the 7.
There we go. That's it. I'll take 7. I'm going to hit the pick 4 right here. I don't know it's going to pay very much, but that's favorite.
$55. Yeah, I had it too. Not much.
Money back.
Yeah. It's how much was it? How much was your ticket?
It's a $48 ticket. I just made 7. I'm going to go buy me a case of Miller Lite right now.
Alive to play for tonight, right? That's all that matters.
Grab Jared a Truly while you're there.
Yeah, I need another one. By the way, I tried the wild berry.
Here we go.
Pretty damn good. I'm not going to lie. I like the pineapple best, but wild berry is really close.
Their pineapple one is good, and it's so much better than the other one. I'm blanking on the name right now, but the other company. Their pineapple is so much better.
White Claw.
There it is. Thank you.
Yeah. Suck on that, Miranda, because White Claw sucks. Okay, so hey, don't go there. Don't go there, Ricky. Okay.
No. I wanted to get to all the West Coast people had their chance to go on there in the San Clemente. That's where I was going.
Okay. I just making sure. I just follow.
I'm playing by the rules.
Okay. Well, who do you like in this?
No, I was all over Magic or Sean or anyone. What race did Warren Showtime scratch out of to come into this spot?
She scratched the Fleet Treat yesterday. There was a 7 furlong dirt sprint.
Right. Okay. Exactly. Because one of the things, and I am a huge fan of Warren Showtime, but it's almost like turf, like back and forth, right? So I said, all right, let me, in my mind, let me back this up. And that's why I asked you, and obviously you know off the top of your head, but she's so much better of a turf horse. I think some of the dirt starts in there, I don't really know why they were, why she was on the dirt at all, but I think Warren Showtime is definitely my choice for me. But the other horse, And Sean, I'm curious to know what you think. Cheermeister, I know you're against. The reason I'm for Cheermeister, not my top choice, I just on some tickets, she gets back to the turf. I think that dirt start was clearly not her preferred surface. And she faced Tonal Shape, who, I was way off on Tonal Shape last week, but Tonal Shape was at the top of her game around this time, back in, the springtime. I think that she gets back to her service. So I guess I wanted to.
There was just too much. Gulfstream Park's turf was so speed favoring, and then the Gulfstream Park horses haven't come back to do well in New York. And I would say that California turf is easier than a New York turf, but there just isn't. I don't look at that back class and get that excited about it, really.
And I don't either.
If this was 2 weeks ago at Del Mar, where speed was really doing well, it would have been kind of more of a top pick. But now we're kind of seeing it go back to where it's more fair. It's not even really benefiting the horses on the front yet. So I don't think we can take that last race into play. And when three turns on the turf never is really a speed favoring type of race, but it's just it's played a little bit more fair, and I think that there's been a lot more speed that is signed up that you could be afraid of.
Yeah, no, I was just talking again, not my top choice. And because I saw what I was looking at Santa Anita yesterday, I couldn't remember the stakes race, but I said I know Warren Short, because Del Mar and out west they'll have the horses scratched when you download the PPs. Unlike Saratoga, it'll say scratched literally in the program. So I forgot off the top of my head. I'm happy Magic you had that. I'm just intrigued to see. I guess what I should have said is having Cheermeister getting back to the turf to see what she really is. To see Sean, to your point, if that Gulfstream is that going to play here, because there is a lot of speed signed up, but she clearly is a turf horse. I'm just kind of intrigued to see what Victor Espinoza does. I think I should have said more intrigued than excited about, because I'm all over Warren Showtime, but I just kind of wanted to bounce that idea off of you guys.
What he's gonna do is he's gonna see all this speed on paper. He's gonna think that he can rate this horse, and he's gonna strangle the what out of her, and she's gonna be completely empty halfway down the backstretch, because that's what Victor Espinoza likes to do.
And then go wide.
And that's possible too. And again, I guess I was just intrigued to see, because she clearly is a better turf runner. We saw by that one awful dirt start that she barely finished. I don't understand what that was about. I was just kind of intrigued to see her getting back to the turf off the layoff as well. But
I like this question that came up.
No, I got too many to bring up.
Yeah. So to wrap up the Del Mar, because I want to get to that question to end this thing. To wrap up the Del Mar talk, I think it's 8:30 Central, 9:30 Eastern is when the Maximum Security will run. So make sure you tune in. Make sure you tune in for that. And obviously, San Clemente is a race before that. I'm sorry. Which is the same thing as prior. And so you tune in for both of those for sure. But okay. So worst beats. I want to hear. I know. I mean, if anybody knows Blinkers Off, knows my worst beat, we'll talk about that. I wanted you to say, Sean, I'm sure you've got plenty playing as long as you have on tournaments and whatnot. But let's hear your guys' bad beats to close, which is kind of a weird thing to close this out with, but let's do it.
The one that immediately comes to mind is Songbird losing the Breeders' Cup. That one hurt. That one hurts so much. I still can't believe that she lost.
Yeah,
I can't believe we're bringing this up. I'd already kind of put this out of my mind. It hasn't even been a year yet. I was sitting. It was the week of the Breeders' Cup last year. I was still trying to get into the Breeders' Cup betting challenge, and I was sitting in first with the last race to go, and I was on I think it was like a 3-5 favorite, ridden by Flavian, going 2 turns on the turf, had a 2-length lead. All he needed to do was come in second. Didn't even need to come in first. 2-length lead, turning from home. I'm like booking my hotel for the BCBC as they're turning for home, and I think he's still running somewhere. I think he finished like 6th. It took a while for me to get over that one.
Oh, Welder. There was like one race Welder's lost in the last like 2.5 years, and it was his return. I mean, this is 1 or 2 years ago, and Aaron was hyping him up, and I was all excited, and I bet way more than I should have because I was that confident in him, and I even covered. I did the math, and I was like, listen, if he only finishes, third, I had enough bet to show that it would have covered what I lost on the win bet, and he finished fourth. I almost had to move to Missouri.
Which is easily his worst performance, like.
Yeah. To this day, I still won't bet Welder. Like I have not bet Welder since then, and he hasn't lost. I don't think.
Yeah.
And I'm like, nope. I also learned my lesson. Don't go across the board on a horse that's like 1-5 because it's just stupid.
Ricky, I don't know your bet worst beat. What is it?
So I'm gonna take. I was in middle school, which was like last week. Zenyatta and Blaine. Still to me, one of the, in my opinion, again, I was only 14. Literally, I was actually 14 in 2010. It was the best race that I ever saw. To this day, it was the most, like, from start to finish, because I know the dudes themselves are huge Zenyatta fans, and I question your horse racing fandom if you weren't a Zenyatta fan. Just everything about her closing style, you knew she was never out of it. And she really kind of propelled me into, the love for the sport. And I just remember saying she can't lose. She won't lose in her last race. It's just not going to happen. And I had saved, and it was so funny. It wasn't a lot of money, but I was only 14 and I had saved up all the money that I'd made over the summer. And I was like, you know what? This is a time. Like, I'm going to make my first huge win bet. And she didn't come through. And I was at the point where, again, it's not like multiple thousands of dollars. Sean, you had way more on the line than I did, but it was just like, it always just stuck to me. And to this day, I still don't not that I don't understand. I still watch the replay thinking she has a chance. And it's like, that's always the effort she gave. And she just didn't come through. And again, like, you run that race 20 times and she probably wins 18 or 19 of them. And I'm being serious about that. And it just couldn't beat Blaine. So that was my worst moment just as a fan, because I loved her, but it was just a bad beat because I had saved up so much of my summer money when I was in middle school to play her. But so that was my, not big money, but just nostalgia, bringing it back to when I was a little kid, which was last week. But
it was brutal. I mean, me and Aaron were there live. I've never heard a racetrack since then or prior more quiet after a race than we did that day. It felt like, you collectively, even with obviously Pharaoh and Justify won, so it was not quiet after the race, but collectively everyone was rooting for that. But I've never felt a more collective group of people rooting for one single horse than Zenyatta that day. And even when, we were right on the stretch on the rail and when she made her move, and even then you thought, here, she's going to do it. She's going to do it. And, and really she did. I mean, she showed up. She just, if you remember, she was so far back early in that race because the kickback of the dirt. I mean, you almost felt like something was wrong with her. I remember, I'll never forget live. We were like, something's up, like something's not right. She's so far back. Of course, being live, it's hard to tell, but yeah, that was, and people don't know. I mean, the horse in the logo, that's Zenyatta. I mean, that's how big. Without Zenyatta, this site would not exist. I mean, we became fans because of Zenyatta. So, okay, so worst beat for me has to be the 2018 Kentucky Derby, the pick 3. Funny Duck. I mean, a horse that I will live in infamy. I had about a $40 $1 pick 3 going into the Kentucky Derby. I had New York Central on my ticket, which was about the same price as Funny Duck that day. Which the $2 pick 3 paid $13,000. So you can say roughly, $6,500 for the $1 $40 ticket. Would have paid about $6,000 to justify. I had the ticket. I had New York Central. I did not have Funny Duck, obviously, who obviously never was seen again. Just freak occurrence. So $40 ticket would have paid about $6,500 to justify. So yeah, that was the worst beat. Funny Duck. it was brutal. I mean, I thought New York Central had it. I was a big New York Central fan. Who was it? Yoshida, I think, finished the second leg of that. Price.
The Old Forester, right?
Yeah, I think it was that. And then, of course, so it's like how nice would it have been to have been live to a $6,500 pick 3 to Justify in the Kentucky Derby, and that's where I would have been sitting if not for Funny Duck. So definitely the worst beat of my life. But I did wager a very healthy amount on the nose of Justify to help make some money as well. But definitely would have been nice to get him home.
Just didn't pay $6,500. You didn't bet that much on I don't think you guys brought enough to Kentucky to get $6,500 on Justify.
Between and Halterman, we may have bet close to 65, but it wasn't not individually. No.
Yeah, that would have been. I'm curious. I don't want to keep it going, but have you guys ever put up a win bet to the point where you were like nervous as they were going?
Yes.
Oh yes.
The Pegasus with City of Light. I bet in 500 increments. I bet 500 because I was like, I like City of Light. I like the fact that it's in the rain. Lone speed, blah blah. I think it was like 5-2 at the time, $500, and it was like still 5-2. So I'm like, and this is like within 5 minutes of post now. So I'm like, okay, it's still 5-2, $500, right? So now I'm at $1,000, and then it was down to 2-1, and it just never moved. And so I'm just like, because I was gonna bet it at like, I think my 7-5 was my cutoff of like continuing, and I got it up to $2,000, and I'm like, I need to stop because it's gonna be a bad night if something happens because it's horse racing. Let's be real,
Yeah, you never know. Never know what's gonna happen.
Knots in my stomach until that wire crossed.
I remember, I'll never forget, Halter and I, 2015 Kentucky Derby. We were obviously very big American Pharoah fans. Had in the winner's circle for the Rebel and the Arkansas Derby with the Zayats and this was before Racing Dudes was. I mean, we existed. We weren't real big, and we decided to empty our bank accounts, our business bank account, which I don't know tax wise, not sure how legal that was but emptied on the win on Pharaoh, and of course, obviously, the closest race of the Triple Crown was that. We kind of made a fool of ourselves at our Kentucky Derby party. We were we were hugging and doing some things that probably weren't appropriate after that horse won. But it was a very, very large win bet on American Pharoah because we were just that confident that he was going to win, and sure enough, but it was scary.
So I might not be here if American Pharoah.
Yeah. You're like,
there'd be no company.
So let's just put it all on there. Somehow in our mind we argue it's a write off if he loses. So
the most nervous I've ever been with a win bet is when the very first horse I ever owned a part of, and I had a $2 win bet on her, and I was so damn nervous about that horse running. She didn't have a chance on paper and she didn't run a lick, but just the nerves and the excitement of having that first horse that you own race for the first time was I think my fingernails took 2 weeks to grow back because how much I chewed. I mean, Sean, I know you do the My Race horse ownership and some others too. Did you ever feel like that with your first horse that you owned?
So it was actually the first time I got invited to the Eddie Logan suite at Santa Anita, and it was the day of the Preakness Challenge, right? So everybody in the Eddie Logan suite is playing the I think it was a $3,000 Preakness betting challenge. And Del Mar was a part of it. And the last race in the contest was Kiana's Love. It was her first maiden race. And so I've got these guys in the Eddie Logan going, "Hey, is your horse live? Is your horse live? Da-da-da. Should we bet it in the contest?" I'm just like, no,
yeah.
I would just walk out of the Eddie Logan suite when they're asking me. I'm like, I don't need that kind of pressure. And a couple of them said, if I would have bet your horse, I would have won the contest. And I'm like, but to help me out, Michelle, you did show up. Yeah, we were in the same. We drank champagne together. We're in the same winner's circle photo together, and neither one of us said a word to each other.
We didn't know who each other was. Yeah, Sean.
Actually, I think I showed you I think I had a $100 win ticket on it. I think I showed you the ticket, and you were like, "Wow, you were that confident?" And I said, "No, I wasn't. I just threw it on." But
did she pay that day?
She paid
it was like
$12.
6-1. Oh, it's 5-1.
Yeah, she's $12. We all were surprised. Like, I'm laughing the whole time in the photo because I was like, she wasn't supposed to do that. The trainer even said she like. You remember too? She wouldn't come back to the. She won, and then she just was toiling around. I thought she was hurt because I thought the jockey was bringing her to the vet's trailer. And no, she just didn't know what to do. The race was over, and she was looking at the barn. She didn't know she had to come back and go pose for a win.
It's funny you bring that up with maidens because they just don't know what they're doing. Like, and it's obviously, especially first time out or second time out, and they cross that finish line first, they don't know that they're supposed to get their picture taken. So it's so funny to see like you have even, I think Jared, you brought it up, like you have a horse like Whitmore breaks through and he knows he's not running. He knows he almost made a mistake, broke through and has to go back. And like maidens, they'll win, they'll cross the wire, and they don't know if they go to the barn, they don't know if they get hosed down, they don't know. And it's just kind of funny to see their animals, they don't know what to do. They're not like, they can't. So it's just Magic, to your point, it's like she didn't know what she was supposed to do. She didn't know which way to go.
What track was that like last week when that horse exiting the far turn just literally
Charlestown
back to the barns?
Was
Charlestown.
Yeah.
If there's anything
Like
wacky, that's the most
lead.
Charlestown thing I've ever seen.
Yeah,
I love that Paul Espinoza didn't even catch it.
The announcer was like, he thought the horse was still going to win, and then like almost to the wire realizes the horse isn't even on the track anymore.
No one had the bad beat at Gulfstream when I don't know who the horse was, when it was, but when the horse about 50 yards out hopped up and went into the turf and broke the fake rail. It was like,
oh yeah,
and I'm talking about not like, granted, I don't know how much money you have, but in terms of your home, right? So in Sean's case, Sean's not only booking his stuff, Sean's almost packed and ready to go at this point, about 20 yards left. The Magic, you know what I'm talking about, and you see it on Bad Beats on SportsCenter all the time. I'm surprised no one had that, because that, you want to talk about a horse being home, they could have been not handwritten, could have just been jogged.
Well, you also had
like
the
10
one,
yards
I think it was
out.
2 years ago in 2018, the guy alive to the jackpot and the jockey fell off like 50 yards from the wire, just ran. Like, he made a little bit of a move if you watch the head on, but like he was just so wrapped up that I just don't think he was paying attention. I'm not saying anything was, shady or anything like that.
Hey, fall off.
Was that the one, Sean? Was that the one where the jockey said afterwards that he was sick? He was feeling sick earlier that day, and then wasn't it one of the Mirage brothers, or am I thinking of a different race?
I don't know. I don't know. I don't want an explanation if I'm that guy. Don't tell me.
Assuming that's on the up and up, and you had that jackpot, racing gods are like, dude, you need to stop. Like, just stop.
Here's your sign.
Yeah, no,
we
we
do
don't play
something
anymore,
else.
for sure. Yeah,
Well,
we don't play anymore.
Because it ain't gonna happen, dude.
I don't know how, I grew up, my dad, trained and owned standardbreds or harness horses. So you want to talk about bad beats, watch some harness races and see when your horse breaks on the lead. And I'm talking like you're home. I don't know how much you guys watch, but like the horse just breaks, right? And once you break, you're pretty much eliminated unless you get back on stride within 5 feet. You're pretty much eliminated. So there have been some bad beats, obviously, thoroughbred is 1,000 times better, but I'm just saying, some of these in sports and horse racing is cruel. So that was a good question to kind of see where everyone's bad beats were.
Well, to that point, let's hope we get some good beats coming up, because Del Mar obviously still going, and obviously the big race tonight with Maximum Security. So tune in for that. Thanks, everyone. It's been good. Almost 2.5 hours of content here, and congratulations to Baltul, who obviously made a huge win today in the Vanderbilt, and Magic, you got your work cut out on writing about all those races happened today. So
Volatil's already been posted, baby.
Yeah, I was gonna say he's been tweeting things out during the show. I've been getting tagged in things. I'm like, what is this guy doing?
There's a reason why Magic is full time, because he's a beast. We knew once we unleashed him, it'd be a matter of time, and there. So keep it up, Magic, and hey, Sean and Ricky, thanks as always for being on here, and we'll be Lazy Daisy. you'll
if she wins, you'll hear me from Missouri. That's all.
I'm aware.
Well, I'm a little closer. I'm going to hear you anyways.
Next week, we will be live for the Whitney. That'll be a huge card, so definitely tune in for that. And it's funny, you got this weekend tonight with Maximum Security, obviously looking to make his case to be a top contender for the Classic, and then we'll just jump into the Whitney next week. When you have Thomas Diatat and Code of Honor, McKenzie, obviously, but I don't think anyone really gives McKenzie we kind of know McKenzie is in a mile and a quarter type horse. But to be Code of Honor, Thomas Diatat next week, you got those to see if put their names in for hopefully to be up there with Maximum Security when it comes to top contenders for the Classic. So tune in for that. We'll be live next weekend as well. All right, thanks everyone for joining us, and we'll see you next week.